Was this for the agenda item or is this for the end of the
thing.
thing?
Because I didn't take care of the.
Yep.
All right, we'll call this meeting to order. Could you please take roll?
Mrs. Leskowicz. Here. Mrs. Butler. Here. Mrs. Donahue. Here. Mr. Beat.
Here.
Mrs. Kipling.
Here.
Next, you'll do
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And we got approval of the agenda. So approval of the agenda, so can I get a motion to approve the agenda?
I motion we approve the agenda. I'll second.
Do you have any discussion?
Just that we are gonna have an executive session. Number one, appointment.
Okay. And, and then we can vote for this item. Then we can what we?
Mrs. Leskowicz.
Yes.
Mrs. Butler.
Yes.
Mrs. Donahue.
Yes.
Mr. Beat.
Yes.
Mrs. Kipling.
Yes. And we don't have public participation. Do you have anything? Yeah, we don't have any public participation right now, the agenda items.
Jackie, could you make sure you speak up?
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, yes. And now we'll get into reviewing next week's agenda. So we'll go through the vote, we'll do the pledge of allegiance, we'll approve the agenda.
Presentations,
Oh yeah, presentations, yep,
presentations.
looking forward to that, that's awesome. And then approval of the minutes. And then income tax discussion. So is there any questions about this right now that anybody wants to ask? So the goal is gonna be, we can ask our questions and that gives everybody time to do any research if they need to do research, or they can answer now. And then we should be pretty well set by next week to go through and be able to approve unless there's any last minute. Right, points. Does that sound good?
Well, sounds, is that resolution ready?
It is not right now. I'm waiting on Mr. Wilson from Dinsmore and Shoal to write that up and write up the ballot language. So I'm hoping to have it shortly, but he did email, that's what we have, the Ohio.
You did it wrong.
Yeah. Did I do it wrong? I did, you're right. Ohio Department of Taxation, and that's what they sent us back as far as the values. So if we do a straight renewal for 5 years, which will be my recommendation next week, at 0.75, if you were gonna do a traditional base, which when I misled you and I apologize, traditional base in income taxes is you tax everything.
Okay, that's what
Yeah.
I didn't know if they were talking property tax or if like
They're
regular,
talking,
everybody.
if you tax everybody's salary,
Okay, that's
no
what-
matter what, right?
That's
What we would get is that 2.9, and then the earned income is the 2.3, which if you remember correctly is up 200,000 from their first estimate, which was 2.1.
Right.
So, but if you also see that they give you the equivalent in millage, so to raise that 2.3. Any other way, like a property tax, you would have to put on the ballot 11.54 mills for approval, and that's a lot on homes, especially since we had a recent triennial update and some values are going up because of that. So, but I wanted to provide that information to the board, so that you were aware of that. And hopefully I will get everything I need from Mr. Wilson back this week, and I'll put that in on the as soon as I have it.
Thank you. Anything else on that? No? Okay. And then we'll go over the annexation discussion. The plan was that we'll talk about the meeting that we had with Mr. Kiefer, the developer. And then I had a couple other notes about maybe looking forward some other ideas and things, proactive actions that we could take. And everybody good on?
Sounds good.
And then the next thing is that slide deck that I sent out, and that was a suggestion to maybe see what everybody, you guys, what you guys think about it as well, but I feel like I'm losing the bubble. So I think if we start tracking our action items and initiatives and how that ties into the strat plan, then we can stay focused and stay on track, and then it'll have a priority and all that, so.
Missing the bubble. Never heard that.
Oh, really? Oh.
We've got a million of them. Help me.
Yes. I was not losing, I can't come back.
Can you hold that up, Mrs. Hamish?
Well, let's see if I can do it right.
Yeah, right away.
Open in a new tab, here we go. Yes,
I just wanted to see what it looked like.
so,
And maybe something we'll do quarterly, maybe we'll do it every month, I don't know, I just wanted to get your input, but these would be some of the talking points that. I thought perhaps we should cover next week on the annexation. And I will say there was one big confusion, based off the chatter on Facebook, that a lot of people, as soon as we said, can we look into doing, the rules on redistricting? All of a sudden, people thought that,
We were
Carriage Trail
doing
1 yeah, they thought Carriage
Well,
1.0 was going
That's
over to
typical.
Denver.
I mean, they've always been, you know, and obviously that's not what we're discussing. That's not what we're
Right.
proposing. That's not what
No,
we're
what
teaching.
we're
That's
doing.
not
But
anything.
that, so I wanted to make sure that that got out publicly from us,
Yeah,
so.
look, Carriage Trails, the first part of Carriage Trails
Yes,
is
it's
a done deal.
Yep.
They're Bethel people. Absolutely.
But these, and then, and these are all on the shared drive under the Board of Education, you know, where we file everything. And I put it under yours because you run this. So I don't know where else
sure,
to put
okay,
it.
that's fine.
But that's right, that's where I parked it at. And then, so we'll touch on that stuff, and if anyone else has anything, they can just add to it, and we'll discuss it. And then the next thing I think was, accomplishments. So I'd like to start, maybe doing a little highlights of the good things that are going on. And the things that are getting done and the things that are happening and the positives that's going on, so, some of these things I thought were pretty big. So that's where that came from. And again, it's a team effort between the board, the super and the treasurer. It's not just one person doing everything.
Yeah, I think, as we, you know, hopefully you're going to give us direction next week on
Strat plan.
strat plan and, you know, whatever comes out of that is reflected then in this weekly report under the three goals or the four umbrellas or
Yep.
whatever. And so it's just, again, just aligning everything.
Mhm.
So. it's-
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, actually, the next one I think has that where it ties to the strat plan, the goals and the objectives. And so we keep staying on track that we don't get off filter. And then, yeah, so just like that. So this was some initiatives, so we prioritize and then tie it to the strat plan. And those are just some things that I jotted down to get us thinking, but again, anybody else wants to put anything on there, that's good. And then action items. So anything that we've committed to, somebody said, yeah, I'll do it, or I'll take care of it, or I'll look into it, or whatever. Then that way we can keep track of that as well, keep updated and find out where we're at. That list will probably keep getting longer.
That's, yeah,
But,
it's longer is not bad. It's
No,
like.
no, but at least.
Maybe that bi-monthly
Yeah,
or quarterly,
Mhm.
just,
yeah, so it's
because
not,
you're, you know, if you haven't found this turnaround, it's pretty
exactly,
quick.
Yeah.
To do stuff.
and probably we'll have, like, I would envision we'd have a whole entire spreadsheet on the shared drive that we continue to update, but we just maybe brief the top one or something like that, and to see where everybody's at, you know, but just so it's out in the public, it's out in the open, and we all get a chance to discuss it and do that, so.
So you're saying, don't, everybody should not go into this and update this? You're gonna have another sheet that we should update? Like if we have something that we saw that, let's say I see something, I wanna add it.
That's what I'm thinking, that maybe we'll just have a regular spreadsheet on that drive and we'll just keep adding to it. And then when we get ready to do the slides, we can just put the top 5 or especially if that list starts getting long, but I mean, it's whatever everybody wants to do. I mean, any thoughts on?
I don't think it's a bad idea to have the visual of what we've been talking about, progress we've made and where we need to go, because it's hard to keep on top of everything because there's always something new coming along, and so I appreciate the visual.
Can't manage my sticky notes.
Oh, I do.
I know.
But it's not-
I just think that we have to, I think we have to be cognizant that we're not doing death by PowerPoint.
Oh, right, yeah.
So, we need to make sure that it's relevant and it's updated and
That's what I'm saying, maybe we just make the top 5 that we're working on, get updates on that, and then as people wanna update the entire spreadsheet, if that thing gets to be, 15, 20, 30 lines, then they can update that, we don't have to read all of that, but this is again, just keep it on our radar.
And this is something that we would go over
In the.
every other meeting or something.
Yeah, and actually, we could bring it up in the work session, make sure everybody agrees with the points that we're gonna make, and so we don't, over death by PowerPoint. And then we'll brief it and then it'll stay like that, and then we can always go back and update our stuff on shared drive, keep that active, a working document. I'm thinking,
Yeah, because some of these could be old business or unfinished business, so.
Ongoing business.
Or ongoing, yeah.
right,
Unfinished.
yeah, so I don't know if we can just stick it in one category, or however we want to do it. Open to
You
suggestions.
can just try and see what works best, I guess.
Okay. Then, what's the next one? Yep, and then those are just the things that we're gonna talk about. And then if there's any more questions that anybody.
Okay.
So not too long, but if that's something you guys wanna do, at least then we'll try to keep on track with everything. Don't get veered off. And like Mr. Crispin said too, once we get the strat plan, I think that will help us tremendously to keep us on focus. All right,
Want to do this at the top of the meeting every time?
Sure.
Yeah, every other time,
Yeah.
whenever.
so where would this fall? Because board business is usually kind of the end.
right, that's what we're saying, either old business, if you want to stick it under one category, or
Put under discussion.
discussion.
Mhm.
Yeah, I didn't know where you wanted it, so I thought a lot of that stuff was fell under unfinished, so if you wanna move it, I'm fine with doing that, so, yeah.
Whichever, if you'd rather talk about it up front or just wait till the end,
Discussion sounds something that makes sense.
it does.
It does.
I think so too.
Okay, so
So we're
we
sticking
will
discussion.
move that, whoops, move this to discussion. Okay.
Or an update.
And then we had, community comments, we just had one from the last meeting. And then I don't know if you guys had a chance to email her back, but I had emailed her back with, answers to the question, Julie, right before our last meeting on the 16th, I think. She had sent the board some, concerns, and so rather than waiting until now, I just replied back. But, I told her that I would post it in the meeting, and then we would answer all the questions in the meeting. So that's what, but we'll do that next week, but that's why that's on there, is so everybody can have their chance to say, whatever your answer is. And then we'll do, public participation for agenda items. And then we'll go into the treasurer, report. And again, if there's any questions that you guys have off of all these documents, now would be the time to ask. That gives Mrs. Hageman time to research or answer now if need be. And then the plan, when we come back on Tuesday, then we'd be ready to go ahead and go to a vote, if there isn't any last hanging questions or answers you have to come up with.
That's a good plan. I admit I am not prepared fully for today. I haven't had a chance to go through everything, so I might have some questions next week.
And well, and you can ask the questions in email too, right?
Yeah.
Like throughout the week.
Oh,
And then-
definitely, that's me,
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's
you
very
have,
far, so.
so does Danielle, so does Miss Kiplinger, so yeah, Mrs. Donahue, sorry, you feel free to email me, and I'll get back to you as quickly as I can, so.
So I did have a couple, sorry. I did have a couple questions, so, so there was some mileage reimbursement for, Sandra Johnson.
Yes, so Sandra is the accounts payable clerk and works in my office, and she does all the bank runs. So she takes all the bank stuff to Park National for us every month, and we usually reimburse her once every couple months or so.
And then there was an iPad that was purchased.
I think that's with a grant, and it was for a special needs student.
Okay, understood. All right, thank you. Those are my only other questions then, other than the one I had already.
Hey, I
put
knew
down.
those right off the top of my head. So proud of myself.
You've been studying.
Yeah. So you knew it was coming.
No, that was coming, but now I'm like, hey, I knew what she was asking. Okay.
And then I had a couple questions on the.
Yeah, I was gonna go through that, because this is for discussion, what my assumptions, and then we'll move on, yeah, that way. When we get to that, if that's it.
Sure, yeah,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Cause I'll have a whole different presentation for the community next week
Okay,
that I'm working on, but I wanted to run through some. And of course, if you have questions about any other checks, let me know, but I did. Let's sort of go down. Talk a little bit about this, if that's okay. It's a lot of language, to establish a new fund. As we start to see ourselves grow, and because I anticipate us ending this fiscal year with a $6.7 million carryover. I would like to ask the board if we could establish a 035 account, which is commonly referred to as the severance account. As you know, or if you don't, all of our teachers and classified staff are eligible for severance payments when they retire, which is 25% of their accumulated sick leave. And then those that have vacation get paid out their unused vacation. So this is a way to put some funds back for that specific purpose, right? So that if anything, crazy happens and you have a full exodus, we look at everybody that's eligible and what we estimate their severance to be, and we put some money away each year. That way, when and if you have, if you want to do a previous districts, I did buyouts with it. So people could retire early, or as they retire, you pay out of this, and it's not your operating budget anymore, and you don't have to be surprised by that each year when it comes up. So that's what that severance fund is for. And because we have the cash we have, I think this is the best year to start it. And 300,000 would be the first transfer in there to cover, what we anticipate coming. So give that some thought, read through the language. If you have any questions, let me know. I think the language on there also says, I think last year we had to do a 27th pay because of the way the pay dates ran. So we're doing 24 beginning next year, so it should be it shouldn't be relevant anymore, but just in case, it also says if we have to do an extra pay or anything like that, that's what that money is set aside for. And it's to benefit those teachers and classified staff that, we make sure we have the money for their severance when they need it, so.
It's instant, is it interest bearing? Or
It's just the creation of an account on our books, and it'll be part of all the investments that we make, yes.
okay,
and then once it's in there, can we not touch it anymore? Or if we needed it, could we?
You can use it for, whatever you establish the purpose is.
You said it would go back into the fund that it
Yeah.
came out of, if you decided to.
If we decide, if the board decides we need that and we're gonna dissolve it, it goes, I would suggest you make all your transfers from general fund, so everything goes back to general
Right,
fund.
that makes sense. So, and this is for, I just want to clarify, this is for if someone would retire, like if they would leave Bethel and go to a different district, then they don't get a severance or anything
No,
like
that's
that,
correct.
right?
Only if they retire, and part of the language, in, I know the teachers agreement is that they have to show proof of retirement. So they have to send us something from STRS that says, congratulations on your retirement, your first check will be blah.
Yeah.
Right, so you have to prove that you're officially retiring before we'll release the severance.
You can't just say I'm retired.
No, yeah, you sort of, yeah, you sort of have to have something, that tells us that, yeah, so. But if you retire and rehire at a different district, that's, yeah, that's possible, but you have to retire,
That's the
yeah.
thing. I
Mhm.
mean, it was the same circumstance, but it's still retired.
Yes, you have to retire. Those that transfer to a different district, typically what we do is transfer their sick leave over and then they're eligible for their new district severance, whatever that may be.
Mm.
So, because you can transfer sick leave from one district to another, you've got up to 10 years to do so.
I did.
I did.
I didn't lose a day.
So transfers, Laura and her group earned enough money to pay for the musical accompaniment, I can never say that, the adult musicians, I like that better. So they want to transfer from their high school musical account to general fund to compensate the adult musicians that we have later in here. And then the second one is the transfer to create the severance, account for pending retirements.
I have a question about the musical
Mm-hmm.
accompanist. When I was reading through the Neola policies under the athletics, it says that volunteers can't be compensated out of a booster fund.
That's correct.
So this does not, is this kind of the
No,
same
this
thing?
is a student activity, so it's money that the district has control over. And they can be compensated if the boosters donate money to the district. So if the boosters say, hey, we want to compensate a coach and we want to give this much, or a volunteer, right? We want to pay this volunteer $500. They have to pay the district $500. The district can then decide if you want to pass that on to him or her. They just can't pay the coach or volunteers directly. They're not allowed to do that with district employees. So,
Okay,
yeah.
I was reading that today. I was like, I just want to make sure
Yeah.
that that's.
The Attorney General, the Ohio Attorney General's office made that, and the Ethics Committee actually, commission made that decision a few years back, yeah. So if they donate it to us, that's why you see those stipends now from colleges, because colleges used to just mail the checks to the teachers, when they had, a student that a student teacher, but now they have to send it to us and we have to do all this crazy stuff.
And so that these folks that are the accompanists, are they considered volunteers? Like, do they have to go through the same volunteer, like fingerprinting and all that good jazz that any other volunteer has?
I think, like Megan's a teacher, right?
Yeah,
If I remember correctly, yeah. Megan's a teacher. I gotta figure out, where's that?
so when you have volunteer, if your volunteer is not gonna be alone with children. Don't necessarily have to go through the FBI, BCI process. If they're gonna be, the parent's gonna come in, help with, celebration in the classroom. They don't have to go through BCI, FBI because they're never gonna be left alone. At least that's the standard that we put out there.
Well, they do go through
So-
Raptor.
They
Yeah.
do that.
They-
That's not as comprehensive.
No, but Raptor's a good,
It's a good first check.
Yeah, it's a good first check.
Okay, so they do go through that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Minimally.
But if they're expected to be alone with a student or students, they have to do the background check,
Yeah.
yes. I think most of these are there with Laura and Megan's already a teacher, so, yeah. Let's scroll back up.
Bethel.
I'm in Bethel, thanks, I needed that, okay. We just talked about the transfers. Okay, so. I did it wrong again, look.
that's what I was getting,
Get it
Rachel, when I was trying to pull
Oh, is
things
that
up.
right? Now I got it.
And now it's not even letting me open
Yeah, I
it, we've
did-
had problems with it.
Yeah.
Okay, good, so it wasn't, I was trying to go through it today and I kept getting that.
No, me and, Miss Huron, you're over there saying not so nice things.
Yeah, I had a
It's
tough
not
time
letting
getting
me do
through.
anything. No, it's
Yep,
all-
that is exactly the error message that I got to see most of the afternoon.
Well, I did print a copy for you guys only because I can't see it when it's up there, and I always feel like I'm squinting, and
Yeah, the tab next thing.
no, that's the income tax, so I'm getting this. This keeps telling me there's an error. So, I did it wrong again. That's okay. Okay, so, couple things I highlighted, and I wish I could get this open for people at home that may be watching, but, so as I said earlier, if this is the community version, it's a little easier to read than the one we have to submit to ODE that has all the wonderful, you know, treasurer terms and stuff on it. So, in the black box that says forecasted, that is this year, right? So that's this current school year. And then you've got 1, 2, 3, 4 years that are forecasted out. That's why they call it a 5-year forecast, because this year is a forecast and the 4 years after. So, and then on the actual document that we upload to ODE, there's 3 years of the past, right? And so it ends up being very, very small and very difficult to read, but I can bring copies if we want to do that, but putting it on the screen makes it a little difficult. So a couple things that I wanted to highlight for you. In the forecasted column, it says transfers out 505,000. That got highlighted in yellow.
Yes,
Okay, so you see the 505 in the forecasted 23-24 year. That is including that 300,000 for severance. So if
okay,
we don't establish the severance fund, it would be 205. So, you know, just to get your feedback a little bit on that, so I know whether to keep it this way or, you know, what we want to do. I don't expect it, you know, anybody to make any decisions, but this is what I'm gonna present to the board, and that includes that transfer, okay? And then forecasted for 26, 27, and 27, 28, I've highlighted in yellow the income tax, the 2.4 million, 2.484515,
yeah,
and 2.5 million. That goes away if we don't get the 5-year pass, right?
Right.
So then we end the year in the black, but we would be spending over, you know, what I like to call deficit spending or spending our savings account. So it's really important that we get those income taxes, that income tax levy passed for 5 years. So, but I have it there in the community version, and the one that goes for ODE, you'll see that it'll move down to the bottom because we have to say we're gonna ask for a renewal. So ODE just likes their DEW do, likes it somewhere else on the forecast. So, and then I showed you my assumptions, going to the right, all my percentages. So 24 and 25, you see that we go from 9.6 in personnel to 11.6. I added every position Mr. Crispin asked for, and I added salary increases that were approved by the board in December, across the board. So it's about 2 million extra, right, if we did everything, okay? And you still end the year with 1.1 million, good. And we carry over 7.5 million to the next year. So I don't, you know, I know we've been talking about those positions and the need for them and blah, 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 but I wanted to show that it's not a financial burden to the district. We're actually in a good place. What I do with my 5-year forecast is when I'm done with it, I send it off to a couple treasurer friends and say, hey, take a look and see if you agree with some of my numbers here, or if I'm off my rocker, right? So it's always good to have another set of eyes, look at your stuff. And they all came back and said, gosh, yeah, you're looking good. We don't have any changes unless your board wants to make some, blah, blah, blah. But yeah, so all of our revenues are coming in over what we anticipated. So if the board says, hey, we want to do some more hiring, you have room to do that. Our policy is 60 days cash. We're gonna have more than enough, right? And then in 26, 27, and 27, 28, which is the last 2 years on the forecast. If I could be accurate for those 2 years, I think that I could go work anywhere. It is difficult to forecast, especially if that's a new biennium budget. I still won't know if we've got 100% of our the new funding formula, right? So what I did is I just capped it at what my estimate was for 25, 26 with a 1%, increase here or there, and just looked at, no, I capped it just to say, no, 1%, I'm on the wrong line. So for, they being DW gave us a spreadsheet to project what we would get in 25. So that's what that number is in 25. 26, 27, and 28. I only forecasted a 1% increase, and that would be due to increased enrollment. So it's a very conservative estimate on funding for the state. So any change to that will have a material effect, and I have to update the forecast for everybody, but that's why we do it twice a year, November and May. So those are my assumptions and where I came up with that. So as we've been talking and as we continue to grow, there's things that I put in there as well, like I'm saying every couple years, we're gonna have to buy a couple buses at least. So I've inflated those equipment purchases. You'll see they go from 200,000 to 449,000. So that explains all that. And I'll put together a little presentation that I can go through and explain all that. But I just wanted to cover what it looks like now. Okay. So if the board decides, no, we're not going to hire, everybody on that list, or we are, or you're fine either way. Right, so any other questions you need me to address for you?
What happens if we're in trailers in the next couple of years?
Yeah.
Because
Minors?
those are, I don't know how much
I
they.
think we were paying about 6,000 a month for what we had out there.
Yeah, we have 3, so, yeah.
Are those included? Is any of that included in that?
That's productive.
I do, across the board, percentage increase on those kind of things, so like supplies, 5.5, 5.5, 4.8. So we got a little bumper room in there, so we can, I can look and see if we anticipate putting more modules at the elementary. Is that what we want to do?
We don't want to, but.
I mean, once again, we're just,
Speculate, yeah,
we're just, we're talking.
If we do,
Just
we can
talking
add
about-
it and it's not gonna be a hindrance.
Not a significant,
Yeah.
not a significant.
No, I mean, I think depending upon how many you order, I mean, it's gonna change things a little bit, but, yeah, I don't think that would be a problem as far as fiscal.
Okay.
Well, do the math.
Yeah,
Said $72,000.
yeah,
So
yeah,
If that's what we need, as long as we don't need on this.
Yeah.
right? And then would this consider any kind of renovation costs in schools to accommodate growth? Or any updates to old building, like painting and flooring and stuff like that?
it does in our capital outlay and equipment and capital purchases. Paint is usually a supply, so that's why I build that into the budget every year because Todd and his team are always doing some kind of summer
Right,
work. Yeah,
touch
so-
ups, but I mean like specifically like having to repaint 3 new classrooms and recarpet or.
yeah, that's what
wherever.
they're doing this summer. Yeah, that's
Okay.
always built in. They always,
Oh, okay.
they always have 1, 2, 6, 7 classes that they have to do. So they're always doing that every year.
Yeah, no, I was thinking in addition to,
The one thing that we're looking at when we're moving the middle school and all that is we're looking at equipment purchases, because we might need teacher desks, we might need some things that we don't
Right.
have. that
White
we're
boards.
scavenging the building for right now, so.
If you're referring to like if we wanted to put that panel in.
Yes.
That is not it.
No, that would come out of our permanent improvement fund. If it's an improvement to the building, then I would suggest you use your permanent improvement.
Okay.
And that's not part of your operating budget. We have some that's built into your operating budget because that's the day-to-day kind of things that you're gonna need. And I think you don't have enough to just purchase buses every year from PI.
Right.
And you have that, I'm getting way in the weeds, but I'm gonna go back a little bit. We have a $500,000 requirement for OFCC that we have to set up a maintenance fund. We didn't ask the taxpayers for any money, so that will have to be transferred from our PI. So that's why not everything is in your PI, permanent improvement fund. It's gonna be coming out of your operating account as well. Okay. But yeah, those kind of things we take out of PI, so.
Okay, would that include like renovation, like what if we had to, say we had to build another classroom out in this court,
Mhm.
just for example,
Mhm.
then where would that come from?
Yeah,
Would that be-
permanent
okay.
improvement, yeah.
Okay, that was all, and then you already answered the question about the years.
Yeah. So any other questions? Comments? Instruction? You want me to change anything? Yeah, so. Okay, so I'll have a presentation that I'll put up for the community and it's there. Hopefully people can see it. I don't know why it won't open now. It's still just, yeah, but it worked a little bit. And then I also included our renewal rates from the EPC, which we got today. In my forecast, I forecasted 5% and our renewal rate is 4%, and that's in January 2025.
That's just
So-
for 1 year.
Yeah, 1 year renewal. So that's just for, your review. And typically what I'll do is I sign it and send it back saying, yeah,
We'll do
we're
it.
not happy about it, but we'll do it. Yeah, I mean, last year it was 5.5%. The year before it was 2%. The thing that worries me is that 2-year loss ratio. We were at 56 in 23 and we were at 61 in 24. 25, we jumped up to 81.
I saw that.
Yeah.
We'll get it back.
I hope so, yeah, so, but given that 2-year loss ratio, 4% is great.
What's the percentage that the school covers?
We pay 78% and everybody else, the employees pay 22. Okay. Yeah, 78, 22, that's 100. Yeah, so, yeah, everybody pays that. Except classified staff, they're on a different scale, but that's based on hours worked, if they're only working 4 hours versus working 8 hours.
Yeah.
Right, yeah.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it. Any questions in that area? Then we'd approve the consent agenda, then we go into the superintendent's report.
Yes, and then we'll just start rolling through that stuff.
Oh,
So we're continually updating the personnel chart. I know that's not under a voted on section, but the good news is when you pull up that spreadsheet in there that's attached, that I left all the cells that we used
It's still not 100%.
last year on there, so you have perspective of we're in really good shape compared to where we were at last year as far as turnover and just the HR. It was just a huge feat last year, so great shape there, and then our enrollment we bumped up 15 kids, which is usually don't see that in April. But going into classified personnel, we have 4 that we're recommending. 3 special education aides and a healthcare clinician for the elementary. And
Is she replacement for the lady that resigned?
yes. And you know what, we will get we'll get these labeled. We started doing that last year because it was so confusing, labeling. If
Yeah.
it is
If
a
it's a
replacement
new-
or
Yeah, I appreciate that.
new position.
Because they went back to the spreadsheet, but it was-
Yeah, we don't want to encourage flipping back and forth much. Okay, and then we have two renewals and then attached, those are for Beth and Dennis. Dennis is just a yearly. And he was just kind of floating around and I got there and
It worked.
oh, good, joy, rapture. So we're putting him on there just so keep track of it a bit better than we had, and then Beth's contract was up, so that's her continuing contract starting next year. And then we listed the 2-year classified contracts there just to that is the complete list. And are we still working on the bus driver hours?
Yes.
Yeah. So there may be some adjustments and we talked about that at the last meeting, but at least the new rates are there from the new classified salary schedule that was approved back in December. Then under administration, we have a placeholder. We're still going through the process of finding a transportation supervisor for the district. And then recommendation for Ms. Huron to continue as executive secretary next year. Under D, we have 2 transfers, internal transfers that are changing job categories, and Atherton going from special ed to age will be out front with Julie, the EES secretary. And then Claudia Hopeboat is going from driver to bus aide. Summer workers in item E.
Are these like summer school teachers and stuff? or-
These are our staff that pitch in and help our grounds and maintenance folks.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. To do all those projects we were talking about. Yeah.
Out of wall washing.
Yes.
We did increase the hourly rate. Last year it was.
Well.
Well, yeah. So that is an increase. Then in item F, we have some summer student workers. And G is an intern for the IT department for 3 months over the summer. And item H, we have substitutes, classified substitutes specific to food service and to our clinics for next year. And then the musician compensation, instrumentalists, company is
My tongue gets all.
and then Ms. Wolford gave us a breakdown of how that's computed there. Those are the recommendations for classified personnel. We'll get those labels for those new folks for next week.
Do we normally do that IT every summer, the intern? Is that it?
We have for the 2 summers I've been here. Beyond that, I don't know.
That's as long as I've been here.
Yeah,
Also, yeah.
same here.
So I had a few questions. So the middle school secretary, you said this is a continuing contract for her, so does that include an increase?
Yes.
Mhm.
What was the percentage of that?
I don't know the percentage. Have to look. So,
Well, yeah, we'd have to look on the old.
And same for Shelley, is she an executive secretary currently?
yes,
And her contract was up, so
And what is her increase?
3%. So it's administrative. What we did across the board for.
So then is Beth's 3% as well?
no, it's probably more than that, because we redesigned the classified contract, the salary schedule. So that's why I don't know right off the top of my head, it's been redesigned, so it's different, so I have to go back and look at her step and what she made last year and. So now she's finishing up 7 years with the district, next year will be her 8th year, which is why she's eligible for continuing.
And that position's on the classified.
Classified
Executive
schedule.
secretary. Hasn't been.
Repeat that again, you don't have to wait until you hit like the end of the 8th year before you go
No,
into.
no, according to Ohio Revised Code, first year, classified non-teacher employees is how they say it in the Ohio Revised Code. It's 1 year, then 3 years of 2, so three 2-year contracts, so 1, 2, 2, 2. And then once you finish that third 2, you go to a continuing. That's the way it's written in Ohio Revised Code. They don't have that in a teacher's. For teachers, just for non-teaching employees, so except for your administration, which Shelley falls in, Mrs. Piron falls into the administrative category, so she gets 1 to 5. You can have anywhere between 1 to 5 for an administrative employee, so. And the raises that were approved in December included a 3% raise for administration, then it was 2.5 and 2.7 over the 3 years that we approved on everybody else, which is considerably less than the classified staff and the certified staff got because of the new salary schedules, so. I think the average on the teachers was anywhere between 5 and 6%. But I didn't look at it that way from the classified. I'll have to look at it that way. I was looking at dollar amounts, so. Let's go back and look at it from a percentage standpoint. I can get that information for you and email it.
Or just her current rate and the new rate, is that fine if that's included?
Yeah, will do.
Thank you.
I was gonna ask, I'm sorry, did you say on item H for the substitutes, are they for this year as well as next year, or it says new, so is it for,
24, 25.
does it say that?
Let's see.
That's why,
For the food service and the health
Substitutes.
clinicians?
Yeah, we just put that in there. It's not on this, that's a P.
So they fill in like when somebody goes on leave or vacation or whatnot?
That- Yeah.
Because Kristen was here, right? Isn't she the lady that resigned?
Correct.
And then she.
Yeah.
Come back as a.
So she's gonna make herself available as a sub.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Makes sense. Sherry knows the people.
Yeah. Again, she was reluctant to give up her
Yeah.
full-time spot, but we're glad to keep her and maybe something will work out. But no, we under recommended action, this is just the PDF version. We've added the 24-25 school year. It's a one-year approval for the substitutes.
Oh.
Each year.
Thank you.
Mhm.
We non-renew substitutes every year and rehire them. That's required. It's procedural. I don't know why, but we.
We didn't take the law.
It's the law, right?
Mhm.
That would take us to the.
Certificated personnel. Yeah, so we've been busy, as usual, going after and trying to get our certified position the best out there, and we think we have with all of these hires. Again, we'll get those labeled properly. Lots of thanks to the teachers and administrators who did multiple rounds with lots of candidates and a lot that goes into that piece, and then making reference calls. finding out, if, folks are as good as we thought they were. So thanks to all those folks. B, we had, Ms. Branscombe, we need to get her approved for 1 year contract for next year. That is a renewal. Then, continuing contract, Laura Wolford, at the standard to, be on a continuing contract beginning in August.
I was curious, the letter came from Mr. Ziegler, so why was that not done?
That was lost in the transition. Yeah. Fortunately, we found it and she brought it to our attention and we know she's pretty busy and it was kind of like, hey, did I ever get approved for that? And we went digging and found the letter and so glad to get that taken care of so she can get that, enjoy that bump. And I know she's worked hard to get there. So our recommendation for our EL coordinator, you remember when we first posted that, we said we may go administrative, may go certificated, the teacher on special assignment. And after the interviews, we're going to go ahead and I'm recommending Angela Harding, who's currently serving as a BS EL teacher. Brings a wealth of experience from Wisconsin, New York, and that state up north. Won't mention.
The M word.
Yeah. And I think we talked to a real great practitioner. It was a really tough choice for us, but that's the way we're going to go. So she'll stay on her teacher salary. And then later on here, I have a recommendation for extended days to get some extra days before school's to do some scheduling, coordinating, and working with our guidance counselors and principals.
So at any time, can she switch over to be like an administrator in that position instead of being?
She'd have to get a license, and then we'd have to, yeah.
An actual administrator license? Is that
Mhm.
right?
Can you attach her resume, please?
Sure. Yeah. Okay, supplemental contracts. Okay, we ended up getting the dollar.
Yeah.
Chasing that. I don't know why we do that. In the master agreement, we have all the supplemental contracts. And under the steps, we have the percent. I mean, I kind of get that because the base changes each year, but so we had to do all those calculations, but
Ms. Hatter created a spreadsheet. I was gonna attach it to the new contract, so we have that. I haven't done.
awesome. Thanks, Ms. Hatter. So those are supplemental recommendations for the upcoming school year.
So he's an intervention specialist, right, Mr. Silvers?
Yeah, Mr. Purvis is gonna do an extended school year for a student at $35 an hour. So that's what we just need the board's approval. So he's gonna be working with that student some more over the summer.
Oh, okay. Is that like,
And that's the new negotiated agreement.
Yeah. Mhm. So that's the new rate that's in the negotiated agreement. I'm thinking he's probably gonna start in May or June, but considering he's working over the summer, that's the rate of 35.
so is it just for one kid or?
At this point, that's all I know is the one student that needs extended school year.
Okay, but other kids could if they needed it?
If
It's driven by the IEP. And so that's,
Oh.
yeah.
Okay,
so it's
right.
for that child.
Yeah, but this says July 25th through August 16th.
well then, okay, yes, okay.
Yeah, it's for that.
Oh, yeah, because last time we talked, they didn't know, so.
And is that a normal week for them? I mean, is it like 7 hours a day?
No, usually it's 2 or 3, it's like home instruction, sometimes it's 2, sometimes it's 1.5, it's whatever is written in the IEP.
Yeah,
I don't think it's gonna be a full day.
and if there are health issues there that, I mean, there's a lot of variables
Yeah.
that can impact that, so. And then, again, the attached, non-athletic supplementals, and then athletic supplementals for 24-25 school year. With the new dollar amounts. The new negotiated agreement. We have stipends, teacher stipends for, teachers who hosted Wright State students and student from Grand Canyon University.
As I explained earlier, they paid us, and then I
It's
took out the
a-
employer portion that we have to pay.
Mhm.
And then they get the rest of the money, it goes to the teachers, I think that's where it should go, so. I know before we used to just keep it in the general fund, but they're doing all the work, so.
Yeah, that's good.
That's why I asked you guys to approve a stipend for them.
Yeah, those are extended days, and again, that's working with counselors and planning and getting ready for the school year and closing it up. Then we have just a contract adjustment that was blamed it on your interim superintendent last year. Mrs. Hogan came in with 3 years of assistant principal experience, and we usually try to recognize that with folks. Even though they're stepping into the new position, they were doing like positions. So a small bump there, I'm recommending. And then an I supplemental contract. This is, I think this is one, we missed over the winter.
Yes.
We have a request for a leave of absence from Mrs. Towns. August 12th through September 17th. We have a resignation from Ms. Burning, a true loss, awesome kindergarten teacher. So, but will be a new mom, and that's even more awesome. So, hopefully she gets that underway. We'd love to have her back, super teacher.
Are you shopping? No.
I'm not. Okay, there we go.
And for the
Okay.
art teacher, will we solicit the sub now for that?
Yes,
And
yeah,
then it'll just be the
yeah.
whole time, it'll just be one sub for the whole time?
Mhm. Yeah, if she knows, oftentimes if a teacher has a relationship with one of our subs, because that sub has been in that teacher's class, we'll go ahead and make that arrangement. If we don't, you may post it, so you may see something out there for a long-term sub for stuff. So we're back to real school stuff, curriculum mapping. These teachers have volunteered to, or not volunteered to, want to come in and work and be paid.
Did they volunteer or they volunteer?
I saw the Google Doc that went out for asking for anybody that wanted to work.
Okay,
And so I'm asking the board to approve that they be paid at the new hourly rate of $35.
is there a cap on that, how many hours?
Yeah, how many hours are we expecting that to be?
I would be shocked if it lasted over 20 hours. That's a
Per person or total? Like total
I'd
man
say
hour?
probably per grade level, so you can get that broken out for you if you like. But it should be pretty intense work, maybe even less than that. Depends how deep they go, if they go into assessments and creating like assessments and doing that type of thing, which is that's the ultimate, that's the Cadillac standard for curriculum maps and that stuff, so.
And then are these all?
If you'd like, I can add a recommendation not to exceed, wouldn't be too bad. Yeah. Again, it's everybody's summer, so.
Yeah.
Well,
Yeah.
but it was also work that should have been done during the school year. I mean, in a perfect world, right? It would have been done in the school year. I mean, that's kind of what you had indicated at the February
Yeah.
board meeting.
Yeah, yeah, but it hasn't, and it hasn't been, so I'm trying to get caught up.
Gets to that place, we're gonna have to.
Yeah.
You have money,
Right, I mean, this is.
I mean,
good
that's
stuff.
where I'm
Yeah,
gonna
this is-
spend it.
And I'd be hesitant to cap it if they need, I mean, don't, frivolously spend or whatever, but if whatever they need to get the job done, so they can roll into the new school year and it all be done. I mean, that would be fantastic.
You know, we couldn't start it this year because of all the dyslexia training. It's just no way, and then, the science of reading stuff, most of that will take care of the summer, but we're already starting to fill those first 4 days of the school year, so.
Are these all elementary? I reckon some, okay.
I do, you just mentioned. It's kind of maybe in the weeds, is it the curriculum we're using now, will that work with our? Are they on the vendor list for the science of reading?
Wisdom?
Yeah,
Yes.
okay, good,
Yeah.
cause I was gonna
Yeah.
say, how, are we gonna have to?
There.
We're gonna have to lay out a couple $100,000.
That's a lot of money.
Okay, good,
No,
That's good to
it's
know.
approved, yeah.
okay, good,
We're good, and a lot of the stuff that we're using, some of the intervention stuff that we're using, it's also
Are they on the
list.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is this something we're gonna do with middle school and high school as well?
This summer,
Mm-hmm.
don't know, maybe with the middle school, high school. Not quite there yet. Little different bird though.
yeah,
Right,
Yeah,
right.
Little different.
Question, will the new teachers that are coming in, will they have the opportunity to come on board as well and participate?
Ooh,
Like the new first grade teacher that.
I wouldn't be opposed to it, yeah. I'll put it out there to Ms. Hogan and Ms. Jones.
So do they have a team already built and then they're gonna work together as a team and they've already got like a game
Yeah,
plan
we've got
and
a
stuff?
format of, what each standard's gonna look like, what the end product's gonna be, and yeah.
Okay. And then is Ms. Sampson, is she gonna also focus on the gifted portion and incorporate that, or is that how that works?
Well, I would have to, I'll go back. Usually you're gifted and your director of gifted and special education have some input. To help either with remediation or raising the ceiling,
Mhm.
if you will. When you're developing it. So, but I'll ask, see what my guess is she'll go to each team.
Mhm.
This may
super,
Yeah, that's awesome.
start,
great to see.
it's a start.
And I have one question about Angela Harding too. Is she going to? Is she going to be able to do SIOP training?
She's done SciOps training and, she'd like for us to consider maybe something a little bit different. It's been her experience that she's seen a lot of the SciOps stuff already, in practice in the classroom and, so she may have another recommendation for us.
When would she do, because we were almost ready to do this side up, right?
Mhm.
Right? So when do you think that she would be initiating that, so we could?
Soon as she becomes the EL coordinator. Big one, we still have the Title III money and we still have the time set aside at the beginning of the school year.
Could she let us know what she's considering before, just so we have an idea, so we can do some background on that?
Because was the SIAP training gonna be part of the professional development when they come back to school
Mhm.
in August? Okay, and then so, I don't remember what the contract said, but there'll be enough time for her to get on board and.
Yeah, absolutely. The Number 8, and then the last approval of the 23-24 school year certificated substitute list. That rounds out our certificated personnel recommendations for May.
Seriously, 5?
I know. That's a
Five
moving
subs.
target right there.
5 subs. Ooh, I remember it was 5 pages long.
Yeah.
But none of them say they wanna come to Bethel. That seems to be a problem.
So we'll move on to business recommendations under A. We have scholarship recipients be approved. In item B, we have ticket prices and all sports passes for the 24-25 school year. We'll get that put in the our new resource officer contract, Captain McLynch brought that by, and it's been approved by the county commissioners, and very tentative, but we may have somebody for the start of the school year, which would be
That would be
fantastic.
outstanding, wouldn't
And that person, if you noted in the recommended action verbiage, it's gonna be, it's
And so I was wondering if you knew who her.
Yes.
Would be.
Substitute pay, is the increase that's mentioned there in the wording is for the daily rate,
What's the current daily rate?
$100.
So do you think that I would spend it all in one
Like-
place?
Yeah.
wonder we don't have.
That's what I was gonna ask is there a reason? So a couple of things. One,
That's.
can we boost that up to, would it?
Yeah.
Boost it up, attract more substitutes, do you think? I mean, is that a reason why we struggle getting substitutes? Or one of the reasons?
So, it'll be interesting. I can't, my experience has been in 2 different districts. So it's like bus drivers, it's sub shortage.
Regardless of.
Period. And, you know, if you're, the area I was in, when I was at Fredericktown, it's like Mansfield, I think. This was 8 years ago, 9 years ago, big city district, they have to do like 150 and we were all 85, 90.
Yeah.
Still didn't get more people, right? There is that piece. So it'll be interesting if that attracts more folks.
Do you know what other districts have? Is their rate?
That's
That's kind of making us even with them.
It is, yes. Not many people are doing the long term stuff that we're doing. That's but hopefully a lot of folks haven't run into as many as we have.
Right.
So.
That's my other question is, for those long-term subs, can we just bump them up to that, like, that 31 days off the bat? If we knew, like, if a teacher was gonna be hospitalized and then recovery and maybe even the whole year, if they're, can we just start them already, right off the bat?
Yeah,
Like, not make them go?
like maybe Heidi Tenning, I think probably should have started that level. She was doing business, she was doing.
Oh, yeah, teacher conferences.
Or maybe if they've already subbed 30 days in the district, you know what I'm saying? Like, time served.
And I guess
Hazard pay.
Yeah, I guess it depends if the teacher is like on maternity leave and that she's grading papers and she's doing
She's the
assignments,
teacher, yeah.
and she's really the teacher and someone's just there, that's different. But if that sub is actually the teacher and making the lesson plans and doing the grading, and going to the conferences and doing it, isn't that more like
Really
the
are.
real spot on teacher.
Which is why we,
I mean,
yeah, that was a radical change. We had lots of discussion, if I remember right, Natalie?
Mhm.
Yeah. It's you, I think
That's
she
a
was,
smart one, so I don't know, that's a.
I think she was kicking me under the table when I was,
Well, I guess my thought is if they've already subbed like here and there in the district, and then they take a long-term sub. You know, maybe, and we know it's gonna be for the
Concert.
next,
Mhm.
you know,
I
30.
think what might be
60 days.
tricky is your department, because, you know,
Who's
the
trying to
stat,
track it.
yeah, tracking it
Yeah.
is this. Regardless of where we start them at,
Uh-huh.
they don't get that teacher pay until day 61.
Right.
And it has to be consecutive.
Right.
So if
Is that what-
somebody's done 4 days
That's in our
here, then
revised
wait a
code
couple
if I
weeks and then.
remember
do-
correctly.
I'm just saying we could waive that first 30 days if they've already done 30 days.
but remind them that they still have to meet that 60 days.
Yeah,
You can waive the 30, but you're still in for 60 to get that,
To get that.
to get that.
That's just a thought.
let's,
Just
It's-
let us go back to the
Just-
laboratory and
Something to chew on.
see if we can come.
Something to roll around at 3 a.m.
Just email me.
Something to mutter about, but sure, yeah.
I know, yeah.
And for the record, I was always just trying to understand because.
Well, we're just.
That's it.
Yeah,
That's my sense of humor. He says that stuff about.
I mean, in 60 days, it was just
it's
Hard to
very
keep
different.
track of
Yeah.
and very different, and you're like, and for the different positions, like, oh, well, she was in this position for a long time and now she's in this one, so it kind of started over, we were trying to understand that. That's where it was, like you're saying, it was a little confusing all along.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, no, that was. Yeah, it was really something different, but we, you know, we started the year with, this one first grade teacher, kindergarten teacher that was gonna leave within, teaching the same first quarter, but. We just had some oddities where we had some really long-term, extra long-term stuff, and it's that category. Okay, so we'll come back with something different and,
Just
we'll try to have, maybe the weekend too. So we have, student parent handbook, books, for next year there, and, each of them has, a summary of the changes, not too much, nothing too drastic,
I think.
for our.
Yeah, I think we need a longer discussion on this one.
Uh-huh, yeah, so there's a lot that, it contradicts itself, like in one page, it'll say one thing, and then in the beginning page, it'll say something different. It didn't jive, sometimes the middle school is different than high school, sometimes it was district, it should be district wide, sometimes, I mean, there's a lot.
There's a lot, and it's, there's a lot of stuff in there that we don't even do. We're not following, and so I think that there needs to be an expectation that if it's in there, we're doing it. And, I know that the state is trying to, put in some cell phone policies, and I think that that's important. I mean, my goodness, it says that the elementary school can have cell phones on their person. They just can't be out during the day. And I think that's atrocious.
Well, it probably should be district wide, I mean.
I don't know, this has probably been here for a long
Yes.
time,
Yeah.
a lot longer than myself, so
And me.
I don't know how that's gotten past everybody that's,
Well, I
you know,
think high school
Been
changed
here.
it too, because in the guide now, it says that you only have them out during lunch, but I know my son was going through here this year, and it was allowed. Okay, so that's what
Everybody
I
has
asked.
them. And then it says, you can use them in class with a teacher approval for a special thing, and it's like, well, you know, they don't stay in their lockers. Like the dress code is not followed, so I think there's
But
a
it's,
lot.
If
I
we
think
don't wanna
that's
follow it, we should just get rid of it.
well, I think,
That's what I'm saying, the
Yeah.
expectation is, if it's in there, we're doing
Do
it.
it,
Right.
yeah.
but I think like that kind of stuff is probably our job. So like the cell phone policy, I would like to have a cell phone policy district-wide, and then that would trickle down to.
And I'm even okay if it's different for the elementary and middle school and, you know, like at.
Oh, yeah,
You know, or something like that, but.
I just
I
think they're a
agree.
complete distraction across the board.
I
Oh, I mean,
100%
If it not
agree.
hurt my feelings, they locked them up when they walked in the door, and they didn't get back until the
And
end of
more
the
and
day.
more and more schools are
Because,
doing it.
yeah, and it's just, it's just like requirements creep, it just keeps going and going, well, okay, you can have it because you have math or photo math on your phone, so then you can use it for that, well, then that creeps into, well, then you can do, and then, well, then you can have it in social or
Mhm.
study hall, and pretty soon they have it the whole day. Or if it's in your pocket, I don't see it, then that's okay, and then.
But they have it in their pocket and they have an Apple Watch, so they can sit there and they can still see all of
Yeah,
their
they have
messages
address
and
that.
everything and, you know.
But aside from that, or like the dress standards and stuff too, the fingertips, that doesn't work because everybody's either like this or.
Because nobody.
I have short arms, that's
Right.
It's gotta be either at the knee
Right.
or I'll wear it all, or with.
I think, you know, you're the Board of Education. Those are your views. You know, these policies, these rules, this handbook is, you know, again, you all have been living in this district a long time. This rule's been around. So think about what that would entail. You know, going 180 and, who has to police that? And what are, if everybody's carrying them like y'all claim, what's that gonna take? And what are the parents? You know, there's some parents that want their kid to have that because they want access. Not saying right or wrong, I'm just giving you some things to think about. You know, that becomes now, that's gonna be a big time consumer.
Yeah, I would say for this project, that we're not gonna change it up on council right now, whatever they have written, whatever they wanna do, that's their building, let them do it for right now. But my thing is like, okay, so like, the president's list and the honor roll. In middle school, it's like 3.4 or 3.5 to be on honor roll, and then it's 4.0 to be on president's list with all A's. In high school, then it's 3.2 to be, it's something like that, don't quote exactly, or, and then the president, but then you have a B to be on the president's list. So, and then, in some of it, they wrote it in the beginning of the pamphlet
Okay.
that they said it was 3.4, but then 3 pages later, they said it was like 3.6, or, so I think those, for right now, to get this on the street, I think those are the things that would have to get fixed.
But I agree with Regan, if it's not followed.
Right.
Then
Well,
it shouldn't be in there, but if it's in there, then by golly, I want the teachers and the principals and all the administrators and the food service or anybody that has contact with those kids. To be enforcing that and have the authority to enforce it. And if that means that Mr. Swope has 300 students in his office the first day of school for dress code violation, so be it. I mean, it's like, why have it if we're not gonna enforce it? So let's enforce it. Or take it out,
Yeah, I think, you
because,
know, in my short time here, we've stumbled across, bigger discrepancies between, especially in high school and middle school, which didn't make sense to me because it used to be one administration that was separate. I get, but some of this, so we, you know, we've been fixing those stuff, that kind of stuff on the fly. What all 3 buildings probably need to do is, have a handbook audit with teachers involved. And, so they can have those discussions, because those are the people in the front lines. They're gonna see the kids, they're gonna be the ones that have to stop class and say, you know, your pants are sagging, or put your phone away, or that, and so it
Get
really.
your strap.
The conversation, what are you willing to live with? And, what are you willing to stop everything and say, you want to die on that hill?
And like the middle school and high school, they should almost mirror each other. Or if we're talking about bus transportation, it should be verbatim.
It should be
For
for every
whatever-
single one, yeah.
Yes, whatever middle school is doing should be the same as the high school, verbatim, word for word. They've tried, you can tell that some of it is copy and pasted and they've tried that for.
It's a
but-
mess.
Yeah,
I mean, they really are, and unfortunately, I mean. This is the kind. So this is the kind of stuff that frustrates me because. To say, well, we have to let it slide for now, I think is not acceptable, because at some point it has to be done. And. I think it needs to be addressed before the beginning of the next school year.
Agreed.
Yeah.
You know, and we can't just keep kicking the can.
you know, I mean, and
So,
that's-
I don't, the attendance policy is not worded,
Oh my God.
it's not worded correctly.
And I've only gotten through elementary and high school, I haven't even got through middle school.
And if we could format them all to look the same, it would be really nice.
Nice.
And I was gonna say that middle school probably has the best format and the best setup. Other than maybe the SORM and the top 10, take 2 pages or whatever, but for the most part, the way they had their setup seems to be a little bit better than the other ones, so they all look the same too, but.
That's
really the
leadership,
need of it, yeah,
but what's
really
in
the
it
need
is-
of it right now is it doesn't look good to have so much contradiction, and it doesn't look good to have it,
We've been living with contradiction for a long time.
yeah.
Well,
so-
at some point, you
let's
have to
fix
put this
it.
line in the
Let's fix
sand.
it.
We wanna fix it.
So
And
just
maybe this-
understand that we may not, you know, I can speak to the high school handbooks. Those have to go to print probably within the next couple of weeks. So,
Are we still printing them?
Yes, and that was my other question.
we use student date books, school date books.
The middle school.
So
you
we
get-
send that to, school date books as a vendor, that you upload your book to your documents.
And then they-
They put it in the book that.
And they really need 3 months?
They do,
Well, my
It's
question,
a.
Because Reagan probably knows
they
better.
do.
I
I sweat that, I mean, we're not gonna have.
Right,
my question is though, do we need printed copies? Like, are they? all
They
the
use
kids
them for
using
hall
them?
passes.
Yeah, they're hallmarks.
But I thought they use that computer program for all.
They are
They said
middle
they-
school.
Oh, yeah,
But we still have enough time. That you just ask the teachers. We're
Chop,
gonna
chop.
we're gonna revamp the handbook. I know they have a lot on their plate, and you just tell them,
They're gone after Friday.
Fridays. they're
I
not.
know, but they can take the time, look through the
Well,
handbook, because we're gonna
They
do
can do
things.
it or we can do it.
If they want.
well, the principals will be here.
We're not talking about doing this home policy right now or any of those things, but nobody's ever, I don't think anybody's ever asked the teachers, so what are you willing to police for your dress code?
Mhm. What are you tired of seeing? What?
Yeah, I mean,
you know,
what would you say?
What's
I want you to
acceptable?
go to the office, what would you?
Mhm.
I mean, probably at this point, pornographic t-shirts would probably be. Probably all that would really get them excited, or guns, or that kind of thing, but I think they're willing, they're gonna get excited about some of the stuff that's in the handbook. And if it's in the handbook, no teacher's gonna go up and say, is yours strapped 3 fingers wide? But it's in our handbook, so if it's in our handbook, then we need to maintain that, I think. Get rid of it. I'd like it to say, we're training our future generation to dress in a business-minded way, and that's how we're gonna do it. Just, you know,
No holes in the jeans.
with no,
Right.
you know, no weapons, no porn, no drug.
And then
That's what our
advertise it,
Staff, so it's just.
Yeah,
right, and then advertise it well in advance, so then we don't have any parents upset because they went school shopping and bought
Right.
all these dripped up jeans, and then they show up in school the first day and we tell them they can't wear them. So if it's out on the street
but
beforehand.
just a poll, we're changing, we wanna change it, what do you think about the dress code? What
We'll
would,
begin.
I mean,
Have the principals make the command decision this year, and then we'll readdress it when they come back next year and they can work on that.
But then you end up probably why these are the way they are is command decisions were made and then the teachers are like,
yeah,
yeah, I'm not following.
But
Yeah,
then-
it's up to do.
But Yeah, well,
That's why
then principals.
That's why professional dress, I mean, that's why
Right,
dressing,
but
why you don't wear your pajamas.
Right, cause that's
it
not in
says
the
down
high,
there. they
not in
can't
the high
wear
school, it
pajamas.
doesn't,
Oh, yeah, maybe not.
it doesn't,
Yeah.
I looked,
Mhm.
I read the whole thing.
And then the
Pajamas
secretaries.
made
I
plenty
know,
of-
well,
yeah,
you,
that's
okay.
true.
Let's not split hairs, Mrs. Hageman.
I'm not wearing my pajamas on
And the
pajama day.
secretaries.
That's not.
No matter what, I never let my kids wear pajamas on
The
pajamas.
secretaries are working, they work a little bit longer past the end of the week, past Friday, right? Is that right? Because couldn't they help, or maybe they already do help, can they help with like the formatting and stuff? Cause there's a lot of that too, grammatical errors, extra
God.
spaces,
Yes,
stuff doesn't line up,
things spelled wrong.
yeah. So that's not a good look either for an educational handbook.
Past muster for a long time, folks.
Well,
It doesn't mean it's okay.
We're
Okay,
gonna stop
I'm
cutting
just
it into the
saying,
handbook.
you know, it's. Again, just in defense of our folks, you know. The secretaries, yes, they're working extra days. Those aren't just empty days.
Yeah.
They're busy.
I'm not saying they're not.
They have
they-
tasks and responsibilities. Now we're saying shelve it, figure it out and do this.
Well, all I'm saying is that this should be a tight product. When, I mean, it should be,
It really should.
yes, it should be a quality product.
Totally agree. Totally agree.
So, and I'm not saying,
I'll do it.
yeah, I mean, I'm looking at this stuff, I just need to, yes.
You want my notes?
And links to the stuff, it's so aggravating, and especially, so I read it from a parent perspective too, and it is so aggravating. Just go to our website and download the form. There's no way of knowing where on the website you find any of the forms you're talking about. This electronic product as well, we could put links to all the board policies, we could put links to all the forms, we could put links to all of that stuff already right in here. And they can actually link the whole table of contents and have it linked to the exact paragraph it goes to. That's why I was wondering, in today's age, how many people are actually still using the handout?
Well, they sign it off, they sign off on it electronically through Final Forms, right?
Yes.
So there.
So there you go.
So,
But it was like the vacation form, and I thought the board got rid of vacation forms a couple years ago and said, absolutely not, if you go on vacation, that's your own problem, you can get your. Because it made so much work for the teachers, but it's in here, but I don't know if it's in here because somebody overlooked it, or if it's in here because we've gone back to the vacation forms.
I don't think they took it out of the handbook.
Yeah, but then probably, yeah, but that's what I mean, that, but I don't think that we do
And
vacation
on,
forms anymore.
on some of the information, it says like attendance, and it says BP 5100, but in no place in the document says BP
Right, it's not
5100
spelled
explained. So somebody's like, yeah.
I think some did reference the policy and then others didn't, and then if we're gonna reference a policy, it should say the exact same thing. Because it's all coming from the exact same policy, and they don't have to rewrite the policy, all they have to do is do a little, summary. And then refer them to the policy so they can get the rest of the information.
Go ahead, man.
Just a general question, so these come up in May, who typically solicits the principals? I mean, who asks for them and who sends them your way? So that they can go in for our approval? Do you, or did Shelley, or did you go to the principals? Or?
No, the principals know they have to be approved ahead of time,
Yes,
before they go to print.
well, they obviously
That's what the
didn't read
principals-
because there's so many things that are wrong. So like in the elementary handbook, it says that the Board of Education reserves the right to verify reasons given and to investigate causes of absences. I don't think that's our job. I mean, at some point, maybe if it's, I don't know, maybe, I mean, again, it's just like, oh, why doesn't it say the
I
administration?
don't think it's meant as literal, as Board of Education is.
Well, but
You
that's what it
hire
says.
me, and I recommend to you, the folks that are administrators that are charged with carrying out.
Says the
our
Board of
attendance
Education
policy.
reserves the right to verify reasons given to and investigate the cause of each single or prolonged absence.
Right, but he's saying we've empowered him to.
I understand that, but then it should be clear. I mean, those are the kinds of things that it has in here that, it also references one call. We don't use one call anymore, do we?
Isn't that the apogee? I saw the apogee in there. I don't know, whatever.
I think they still use one call to do.
One call still
to do
does
the
our attendance.
It's apogee.
Apogee does our
Oh.
attendance.
Or like, so for middle school,
So-
I'm sure they're trying to be proactive by including a reference to the sports handbook. But the problem with that is now you have to update that every time the sports handbook gets updated. Whereas if you just put a link in there to the sports handbook and have a single source for the document, then anytime the change happens to the sports handbook, it would automatically trickle through into that. So those are some of the bigger things, and like she said too, that the reference and stuff, but those are probably some of the bigger things that we could get this to look like a good product this year and then continue with it next year after the teachers
It
get back.
also, it seems like if this always happens in May and it just keeps getting kicked down the road because it's so late, it's like, well, it's too late to do anything now. Is it possible to start this earlier in the year?
Started.
So
You used to do it in February.
make it professional?
A whole lot shouldn't change because like.
Yeah, once it's good,
Once
it
you get
shouldn't
it,
change.
right.
Cause they reference like the school year, well, this one school year is like from 2021 to 2022, so nobody's read that. So just put the entire school year, and then unless it changes, so stuff like that too, that it wouldn't require so much.
I get your point. I get, again. Think about the turnover in leadership. That has occurred, at the, you know.
All levels. Yeah, I'm not trying
And
to.
this
I mean,
You're asking, again, to your point, yeah, you should. On paper, yeah, that makes sense, until it's your first year running a school. Or your second year running a school. And it's like your first year running a classroom. They tell you to try to stay a week ahead of the kids, and you're lucky to be 2 days ahead of the kids. So again, it's like, you know, we've all come into this, let's throw you in here.
Throw me under the bus. I'm with you. I got it.
With, you know, the place has not been taken care of. Okay, I don't want to point fingers or anything. There are lots of messes. And so you have to prioritize messes. Yeah, this one, yeah, if I had, you know, some more experience, folks under me, yeah, we could do that. If we had time to meet with teachers after school, we don't even have that. Got to be one of the few schools in the area that we don't have meeting time with our teachers unless we pay for them. A lot of obstacles, a lot of messes. And so, you know, we're trying to prioritize, and it's like whack-a-mole. Sometimes you don't get them all, and it's a substandard product.
I'd rather
I
not,
get it.
yeah, I'd rather not have it than put
Me
out.
too, but tell me when, who, how, and how do we?
Well, and I understand to what Andy said. I remember when I would work on it because we had to get them printed. This was done in February. So that you could go through it for a couple of months and still make your March cutoff to ensure we got your planners by the start of August. So this is a crunch time when you're putting it in a printed product. But this also is representative of our school district. It's out on the web. And it needs to be cleaned up, and we're not pointing fingers and saying anyone's remiss or has caused this problem. We're just saying that it has been, let's just pass it for a few years and we need to tidy things up.
Well, I will have a plan to you.
And you're
Okay.
welcome to, if this would help, I mean,
Yeah, I mean, whatever you have, if anybody else has anything.
Okay, I'll forward one.
Yeah, or if you have it digitally, yeah, send it.
and I don't even mind coming in
I
and
don't
sitting
have
down with
copies.
them as well. If-
I
if
haven't
they-
gone through the middle school yet.
I would type it if you want someone to
Right,
put it
you
in
can
the format. But-
but electronically.
But I mean, because I know there's a crunch time, but
And I don't know if you guys do suspenses, but I don't know if you have like a suspense calendar where each month, like when you sit down, I don't know how often you sit down with your principals, but so they have this on the radar, so they could be looking at it, you know, as we
No, that's
go
not-
through it. But just, again, you
Kinda like
know,
a-
turnover and whatnot, but
what's coming in the
just
future.
in the future, type of thing. And we keep peeling back the onion, so every time we look
Do
at.
we know about that?
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
awfully stinky.
Yes, so I understand that, but an educational institute, can I have?
I don't cry, I get angry, and it's never pretty, yeah, so, yeah.
It's not sweet on me either.
Yeah.
So that's all.
Okay, thank you for that input. On 10F, we're going to class fees and we're still working on that. As we're
Hold on.
working through our budget process with, again, getting input from teachers and really trying to come down to what those costs are to run our classes and what the true costs of consumable products are, because at some point previous to Tina and I being here, there was a cutting of what we charge for workbooks, which
We still use them?
Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, in the
we've
elementary.
only been charging half to our parents. So that's. Yeah, so I'll-
Rebate, all those
We're probably-
things.
Yeah, well, so apparently there was instruction to reduce their class fees with no guidance, I would say. I'm trying to word that correctly. So they
So you're
just
still
took
reviewing
10%
that
off the
one?
top or whatever.
I-
And I'm like,
I will bring, what you'll get from me is, here are the consumable products, here's the full price for them. If they're consumable products, the kids are using them, taking them home, workbooks, play, whatever,
Yeah,
that should be in the class fee or the grade level fee.
Yeah.
And then we can conversate, so.
and we've had turnover with teachers, and so do you still need that fee? Because a lot of times when you go through
Yes.
this practice,
Yeah.
you'll see that some fees are never used. And that was a teacher that was here 5 years ago, so in their budgeting process, they have
Problem.
process, they have they've been given the instruction, well, Mr. Crispin, and to sort of go to your teachers and say, is this necessary? Look at the pricing for things and put a real cost for consumables and look at whether or not these things are even necessary. Because first of all, we don't want to charge parents class fees that we're not using.
Right.
And then, so hopefully that's what happens. And so that's what we're working. So it's gonna be a little
That's good.
delayed this year.
Okay. That's good to hear.
Because we want to make this one a better
It
one.
looks like in your, I'm gonna call it the wrong thing,
That's okay.
one of your bank statements,
Mhm,
that there was a lot left over from class fee.
mhm.
So, so kind of like what you were saying, if we're not,
Right,
that's not a true cost.
right. I think
We
the
don't
high
want-
school is the one that's the closest. But yeah, we have some,
Mhm.
yeah,
Yeah, it's
So-
just one of those things we haven't looked at for a
long time.
other than to say, let's just charge parents full price for.
Right, because this is my third year, and so this was actually the first year that I got to sort of roll up my sleeves and look at those kind of things. And I said, well, how much is the workbook? Well, it's $35. Why is class fees $25? Well, because we were told to cut the cost by 10%. That's not how you do it, right? So yeah, or 10, 20,
That's
whatever
not
it was, yeah, so, I said, no, we've got to look at the actual cost of consumables. And what is actually needed, because apparently we're charging too much in some areas and not enough in others, so let's get this.
And
fixed.
to that point too, is if the, let's say the workbook's $50, well, is there one that maybe is a little bit more affordable that could do the same thing,
Right, if it's aligned with the
Yes,
curriculum,
okay.
so that's the only thing I'm not.
Right,
familiar
but
with.
I'm just.
Yeah,
Sure.
yeah.
So you'll insert the fee.
You might, will you
list or
have
whatever?
it?
I don't know if we'll
By next
have it by the 21st, it may be in
I was gonna
June.
say,
so,
Oh, that's fine.
week?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna,
just to give you an idea, usually it's done with the same time that we do the handbook, so it's thrown together. So, and we don't wanna do that.
No, baby steps. Yeah, you know, one bite at a time, so.
Don't like being on the bubble.
Yeah,
So
apparently
Losing
there is
the
on the
bubble.
bubble.
bursting the bubble.
Yeah,
Okay.
so Chromebook purchases.
Yeah, so we'll come back to that, because I know there's questions, and
And we have our fall update that hopefully is ready for approval next Tuesday. MOUs, we have two of them, one for sports supplemental additions and one for Just Right. Just Right Ohio. And so, speaking to the sports piece, our wrestling and both wrestling and bowling, were just did great things for a number of kids. And, I know this district in the past has liked to wait a couple of years to see if it's solvent. Look at swimming, that really didn't work. I just think this is, both of them look to be sustainable. There's a lot of interest for either middle school already, wrestling. We already have somebody that is ready to come and coach and is already coaching some of our middle school kids. It's kind of a different philosophy, rather than wait and see if it sustains itself as a club, or you can strike while the iron's hot. Let's keep this thing going and make it a varsity sport so kids can earn a letter and, do all those things. And so that's why I asked, talked to Tracy about, let's take a different step and let's strike while the iron's hot.
So swimming is out?
Didn't say that.
Oh,
No,
okay.
I just used that as an
Oh,
example.
I was gonna say.
Don't throw that block around.
I do, do we have to use junior? I would like to be a junior high, or it says middle school, so that's another one of those.
It has to be junior high because it's rated 7th.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, always right. Yeah.
That's true.
Oh, that's why it's.
OHSA.
Yeah,
Oh.
and that's tried to be consistent with
Right.
what's in the master agreement was the
Yeah.
response, and that's why we went back and reformatted wrestling varsity assistant coach.
Where do they practice and keep their equipment? Are they in the dungeon? For
Wrestling?
wrestling?
They're in the old library, which was previously the cafeteria.
It could be used for classrooms if we get it from.
Could.
We could put them in the.
It was
let's go
easier
find
to-
The dungeon.
It was easier to convert that room, size wise, it's smaller, we found cheap used mats. Ideally, the 1917 gym would be a really cool place for those.
Yeah,
But it needs a little more
needs some cleanup.
TLC and would cost a little bit more for mats. Restrooms aren't as readily accessible as they are down in that wing. And yeah. My dream is to have it back. In the gym would be,
Yeah, it's more reasonable and that's a cool place to have it.
yeah.
It looks like a
Yeah,
Looks like
that
a wrestling gym, doesn't
you
it?
see it with the big mat lamp in the middle.
Yeah.
And that'd be pretty cool.
I could see it,
Like Thunderdome.
yeah.
Put a fence around.
Over the side with megaphones. Pam.
So the other thing, is we've done some research. We used to have a supplemental for an athletic board. I had proposed a full-time position, and so I thought, well, maybe we resurrect this old supplemental. And then bringing baseball and softball to the junior high. We have a lot of our kids that are playing travel and that kind of thing, and why not keep them here and developing our Bethel teams.
Are there enough schools that have junior high teams that we could have a decent schedule?
Yeah.
That was part of the problem for a lot of years.
And so that was gonna be one of my questions. So why can't that continue to be rec league any longer?
The
junior high?
the junior high.
Yeah,
My understanding is a lot of our conference schools already have just junior high teams, and so we want Bethel kids to play with all Bethel kids as opposed to maybe having
doing travel squads and.
Well, Bethel does have a junior high league
Yeah.
anyway, yeah, so that's why. And
We'd like to do more conference play and,
can we support that on the fields that we have currently?
I think we can.
Then the next question would be, same as for wrestling. If these are supplementals, that are not, that the teachers or staff don't pick up, are you going to advertise for them?
Oh, yeah,
Put them out?
that's per the master agreement, is that we advertise internally like we do all of our certificated positions. Then if we don't have any, folks that are qualified internally, then we post out on site.
Do we have thresholds for whether it gets a head coach and an assistant coach?
I've not seen any, I don't know that we have that written down anywhere. I could go back to Mr. Smith, or we can ask him next Tuesday.
Because if there's, like, let's say there's 5 kids, you don't need a head coach and an assistant coach. So I didn't know if there
Yeah,
was.
it's kind of hard, it's not that black and white, because, like cross country, you could say that, it's this number of kids really, do you need a head and an assistant for 12 kids that are just sprint? Baseball, different positions, track and field, maybe wrestling, another one. Golf, we just added a junior high or a JV assistant. That was just sheer numbers. We had enough kids that fill the varsity squad and not have a few kids go in the JV squad and stuff. So we were funded. So it's not, I get what you're saying, but with that variable too. But I don't know that, I haven't seen anything that prescribes that.
I would just hate to, hire things that we don't maybe necessarily need if, we're not sure how many students are gonna.
Yeah, that's fair, but going into the wrestling thing, that's something we could post. See how many kids come out for junior high, and maybe we stick with that one coach for junior high. The numbers aren't what they are, so, something like that, I felt pretty comfortable.
We can have each other be the backfill.
And then it kind of like we do with golf, it starts out as one, then the numbers get enough, and then it's like, okay, we could do a JV team and do a schedule, more kids get to play. And sorry, that maybe I'm wrong. So yeah, we could definitely do that.
I just have one thing about the 2 coaches, though, isn't it, as far as liability goes, isn't it good to have one coach, someone else there? As opposed to just one coach with kids. In case of emergency, in case, you look at it different ways, but.
That doesn't mean there wouldn't be a volunteer.
Yeah, I'm just saying we could have a volunteer or something, because I think you need 2 adults, even if you have 5 kids. If some kid trips and knocks himself out, now you have 4 other kids you're trying to manage, and for that sort of thing. So I don't think, I think we want to make sure we have it well covered in case of an emergency.
You should be an administrator. We're supposed to think worst case scenario, and that is, you think about a kid that, gets injured on the wrestling, and you're the only coach.
Yeah, and then what do you do?
You never send a kid on an ambulance by
By
themselves.
themselves.
Now, what about everybody else?
Now you have to tell a
Even if
parent,
it's 5
they're
or
waiting.
10.
now you have to tell a parent, I have to go,
Yeah.
can you just walk, and, sorry. I just,
Yeah.
just my mind, I think I've been in those situations
I've seen
where,
that side of it.
where I've seen those things, so,
Yeah.
it's okay to pay a head coach and then have a couple of volunteers. That's okay, but we wanna make sure we don't.
As long as you have, yeah.
We don't underman the teams.
So the other, unless there's something else for the sports supplemental.
One more.
Yeah.
Sorry, so if we have this junior high school athletic coordinator, then do those 3 or 4 people who help out, set up and manage sites, do they go away and we just have one person now who's handling all that?
I believe that's the plan.
Okay. Cause I didn't see the.
Again, Mr. Smith will be here next week to answer all your questions about his the operation.
Yeah, I mean, because.
Yeah, that-
One or the other, one group or the other, but, yeah.
adding this, again, we're adding to the schedule, the work
Yep.
evaluations.
I know.
Yeah. But I do think
Schedule.
it's a great, what our wrestlers and bowlers did this year, it's pretty awesome. Great to see that turn out.
Anytime you get a kid involved in sports, I mean.
Just any after school activity, kids are gonna be busy, we'd rather have them busy with our people
Good stuff, yeah.
and for learn double.
So I mean, just as far as like the supplementals go, like, I don't know, I would still like to see a cap. On how many people can have at some point, I mean, it just seems like there's a lot of the same names over and over. And I'm wondering if it
Kind of like
is.
the people that run the concession stand, sorry, I interrupt, and this. Yeah.
Well, but is it because other people don't have an opportunity, or is it because if they didn't do it, it wouldn't be filled? Because there's a difference, and if it's because if it wouldn't be filled without that, that's one thing. But if it's because no one else is given an opportunity, then that's a different situation. And back to kind of what Regan was saying, in that retention to, it helps with retention when you get people involved. And to get people involved, you have to give them opportunity. So is there an opportunity?
So when we send out intent forms in February, early March, those are the forms we send to staff that say, are you coming back next year? Are you interested in transferring anywhere? Are there any supplemental contracts are there any supplementals that you're interested in doing? So that happens. So a little different than posting and advertising, but everybody gets that sheet as a.
Right, but if one person signs up for 5 things,
But nobody else knows that, so they're individual forms, so you fill one out.
right?
Natalie fills one out, Natalie doesn't see your form.
Correct.
The principal gets that, and then the AD, if it's a sport, and then has those names.
But the default is to the person who's had it, especially the person who's had it several years.
I don't know that we've had any conflicts where it's just Matt and Mr. Slow, we have the principals.
Yeah, if we grow the
For
opportunity.
some of these others, yeah.
Okay.
So we've got through that section, right?
Not yet.
Oh,
So just want to tell you about the Just Right Ohio, that's for the high school. And that's like the high school version of Power of the Pen. We have a Power of the Pen
Okay, that was gonna be my question.
supplemental, and so just,
It's cool,
it is cool, it is cool.
super exciting.
And then circling back up to G, Chromebook purchases, and Mr. Cook is here to answer any and all questions.
thank you.
Cook, want to do something?
Yeah. I just had a quick question about, so when you say 8-year replacement cycle, is that different from tech refresh? Like, do you mean, so when I hear tech refresh, to me, it would mean like the Chromebook is good for 4 years and after that it's just junk, we just get rid of it. And the recycle, the 8-year or replacement cycle, do you mean that that's like your big plan over an 8-year time frame?
So about a year ago, Google announced that Starting models that were created in, I think it was about 2022. Would be good, they would get regular updates and security updates and everything, 10 years. So that means that the lifespan of a Chromebook is 10 years, basically, going forward. So the 8-year cycle is, we would have we buy a Chromebook, it lasts us for 8 years, and then we sell it to a recycler such as K-12, who does a lot of our recycling. And we would get higher value out of that instead of waiting until it is completely dead at the 10-year mark. That way, we are keeping our inventory fresher, but still getting a long lifespan. I mean, $200 for a device that lasts 8 years is a really good deal.
I'm shocked, to be honest,
Yeah.
that their $200 is gonna last for 8 years. That's what I'm
I'd
gonna
be
ask you.
surprised if they last for 2 years. 'Cause I think
But
they're
so
kind of
my
crafty.
question then is, but you said that the ninth graders will get issued a Chromebook, and then when they graduate, they get to take it with them.
Yes.
But are they issued a 4-year-old Chromebook? Because then it sounds like we're giving away of Chromebooks that still have 4 years of life left in them.
So every year we'll be purchasing, starting actually last summer. We started this cycle where we will purchase brand new ones for this freshmen. They'll take it all 4 years and then they get to keep it after that.
That's the problem.
Yeah. What's the problem?
So them are giving away equipment that has 4 more years of life on it. So it could go through a whole nother high school class, a whole nother freshman through senior.
Yes. But that also gives them 4 years possibly in college with a device that they can take with them.
I'm gonna say that these kids aren't gonna take these.
They're
to
brand
college.
new when each one.
They have.
But, and I'm not attacking you, I'm just saying, and I mean, I know that you're just presenting this stuff or whatever, but I'm just saying that I don't think that we can do that. I don't think that we can give away equipment that's only 4 years old, that truly, now, if you said that, you know, they might claim it's 10 years and it may sound good on paper, but from your experience, realistically, these are pretty much done after 4. I would have no problem those kids taking them with them, but if you're saying we're gonna give them a brand new one in a freshman year, and then we're gonna give them away 4 years later, when we could still be using them for somebody else, that would be.
So one of the changes in the fee schedule was slightly increasing the high school fees starting freshman year to a $25 fee. And that way we recoup $100 of the $200, basically we would get half of it back. And then they would then, when they graduate, they don't pay anything. And then they get to keep that at that point. And then for example, because I already know somebody's probably gonna ask, what if we get a student who comes on their junior year, senior year, whatever the case may be? Do they have to pay $100 before they get it? I would say they pay what they use, and we give them, because we know what year a device is purchased. We give them a device that was purchased the same year. So say 2 years from now, the freshmen who are now juniors, we give them the same age device. They pay $50 over the course of their junior and senior year, and then they get to keep it as well. Because they're basically paying the difference. They get the same age device, and then they get to keep that as well.
Isn't that a lot on you guys to keep track of all that?
Not really. Because it's all, we do the inventory number, the asset number based on per year. We change the number per year, like the master number on it.
25 dash.
Yeah, something like that, based on year and stuff like that. So it's very easy for us to look up and find.
Could we just do a buyout option rather than taking the 25
We could.
extra parents, and could we just do a buyout option at the end, either depreciate it or however you would do it, or whatever you get if you sold it back that day, then they have the option to buy it, and then if not, then.
Yeah, we could absolutely do that.
Because I mean, I honestly think that most kids, this is not a college computer. This is not adequate for college. And most kids,
I will say in defense of Chromebooks, we put a lot of restrictions on them, so the students never see until they get to take a Chromebook and we pull the restrictions off to see what a Chromebook can actually do. Because we are required by law to put a bunch of restrictions on them. And so they don't perform at their full potential. And that's what we have to do. So
I think it's generous, I think it's nice of you to do that, but I don't think we should be doing that.
because I think that a lot of kids probably would be like, no, thanks.
I think-
And then we could reuse that
Yeah,
from.
the buyout option, and as long as we're getting our money back, but I don't think we wanna set the precedence that we're giving away equipment that still has 4 more years left on it.
sure.
So that's. That was my only. question.
I will say though, and that's totally fine to do that. We will still need to, because we are still working through Chromebooks that are older than the 10-year life cycle thing. We will still need to purchase freshman Chromebooks for the next 3 years.
Right, yeah.
Because we have to work those out to get to that. Yeah.
Yeah.
So what levels would be getting
This year? Or
throughout the district? What levels, would all levels have Chromebooks?
I mean, like K through 12?
like
Yeah.
You're asking-
purchase this year,
No, just in general,
we would be at 1-to-1.
for everybody,
Yes,
even the elementary.
yes,
And that was because of testing and whatnot,
yes.
wasn't that right?
I mean, for testing though, then it's not an everyday thing. You know, just, I don't know. I just think that these
Except
kids
for when the
need,
teacher wants
these
to
kids
give
need
them
less
a
device
test.
time, not more.
Right.
And I think it's just a,
For the $200, and I think one of the teachers had said that too at the last meeting.
but they don't always, so at the same time. I mean, I heard Mrs. Campbell and I appreciate her opinion. And she's, she's in the trenches, but I just, again, it's just. It hurts me that we sit kids in front of a computer, I mean, I think that, again, we need to be minimizing that as much as we can, kind of like with cell phones and stuff.
And I think we can work on that. I think that there's a possibility of thinking of that, but. And I do agree with your recommendation with the K-12, it seemed to make sense. Your logic. But. And then you already answered all my other questions. I appreciate it. Thank you. But you guys have more?
Just a general question. I apologize. I can't recall. Why did this get pulled off the agenda last month and then brought back now? You weren't available, is that?
I have no
Yeah.
idea.
I'm sorry.
He was not available.
Okay, yeah.
I didn't remember if there was anything other than that. That's why I was looking to see if there had been any changes is what the reason why I asked that.
But so are we all in agreement then going forward that we wouldn't give away the Chromebooks at the end of the 4 years?
Yeah, I'm not really
Unless we're at the
comfortable,
rate
I'm not really comfortable with that, especially anticipating some cataclysmic growth that could possibly be on the horizon.
Good word.
Yeah, it was.
Excuse me.
So, I would probably like to keep those in reserve in case.
Even if they were to hand out as a.
Buyout is.
But I do like the idea of offering a buyout. You've used it. If you wanna have it, you can have it for
We're still getting-
$75,
Because it could be a
$50.
state-only students option, and that's fine, that's a
Yeah.
different situation.
And you're not tasking the parents with another $25 a month
Sure.
for something they might not even want to be in,
Sure.
so keep those fees down and then offer the buyout at the end and then.
We cut your fees.
Because with the, but does the $25 cover like damage and stuff like that if it were damaged throughout the
No,
year?
well, no, that $25 I was talking about would be essentially to do the buyout, to do the purchase that where you would take that at the end.
Kinda like-
So is there
kinda like
another fee
layaway.
though that covers like damage and
No,
repair?
no,
Don't they have an insurance?
we don't do the insurance anymore.
Yeah.
It was kind of messy.
Cost
And for
prohibitive.
$200.
Yeah.
Chromebooks, I mean.
The cost of Chromebooks has gone down
Yeah.
significantly
Right.
since, COVID. So Yeah, so it's sort of cost prohibitive to do the insurance,
That
I hate to
makes
say
sense.
that. But they do pay, if they damage the equipment, they have to pay for the repair.
Okay.
If it's something that goes faulty on the equipment, then we would have to repair that, but if they damage it or throw it across the room, break the screen, then they have to pay for those
Okay.
repairs. We
Okay.
do charge and get that money back.
We have, that should be, I think, in the handbook, and if it's not, it's in the forms that are signed in final forms, is a list of how much each thing is. It's $75 for a screen, $35 for a keyboard, and $35 for a case, and we don't make money on them, that is just
Just
recoup,
rates.
that's cost.
Okay. Great,
Thank you very much.
Mhm.
like that
Part of
here.
the handbook, we don't-
Lost charge.
There you go. We
I'd be happy.
checked
We
this
can keep the
off.
doors open another day.
So, just my 2 cents, nobody expected COVID, right? We never expected to close the schools down in March, right? And so that was, and I was at Miamisburg at that time. And so, we weren't 1-to-1, right? So we were scrambling and using money from ESSER and anywhere else we could get to put Wi-Fi on our buses so that kids had access to that, to buy, all this stuff so that kids could get on
Right.
and still receive an education. And so there's a big push at Miamisburg as well as other districts. I mean, that is the big push, is to 1-to-1. It's happened once, it could happen again, and so we wrote most of our federal grants, and we did this year as well, that 19,000 that we had left over from ESSER, to say we would buy Chromebooks and that we would try to meet the 1-to-1 requirement. So I get it, I completely understand, but in my personal opinion, I don't ever wanna go through that mad hassle of saying our kids don't have. And it gives us the option that when we have voting or we have this or that, that they can work from home and they have the one-to-one, yeah. So I mean, I get it. And I don't think they're sitting in front of the Chromebook every day, but it does come in helpful. And it's so much easier, you tell me if I'm wrong, that they all have, that they have the same device, because we have such a limited technology team. We only have 3 guys, right? For almost 2,000 kids. So if they all have different devices, it's so much harder to handle. So.
And I will say too, is my kids went through the phase where you guys had the bank, where you had to turn it in, when you got off the bus, and then pick it up when you got off the bus, and then go in the end, oh my gosh, it was a nightmare. It was a complete, I would have given you the $200. Just let him go home. It's
Right.
horrible.
And so
But it's
some of
not
our
a good
families,
idea.
yeah, some of our families aren't able to do a buyout, so that was why we thought, well, we'll put it in bite-sized pieces over the 4 years.
Right, but I mean, just
So,
for, we
yeah.
weren't saving what pain it caused to go through all that.
Yeah, right, I mean, I think that's the primary reason, is hopefully we don't have a strain of COVID or something else that comes and we have to close schools down. We have a plan in place, we have things that the kids have,
And even if they're homesick from school, I have my kids get on their Google Classroom and do their assignments, so they don't get too far behind, or if we had to go somewhere for out of state for a medical appointment, and she took it with her, and then she did it the whole time we're gone, so.
Yep.
Sleeper.
Education.
Can't even get a drink to go to the concert. But I mean, and we were ecstatic that it went from 4 years to 10 years, because then we could have a better plan in place, because we're gonna lose all our ESSER dollars, right? So what is our replacement plan gonna be from now? Because at the beginning, we had some Chromebooks that aged out in 2 or 3 years, didn't they? They couldn't be updated anymore.
Some of the older ones.
Yeah,
yes,
because
but
I
They
remember-
were getting, before they did the 10 years, it was 6, and then now they're.
They couldn't take tests on them
Yeah.
anymore. I'm sitting there like, what? You gotta buy a whole new set? Yeah, so, yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, you guys have
Thank
any,
you.
nobody else have any?
Thank you.
Appreciate it, thank
Yeah,
you.
Of course. Thanks, Jason. I think that's it for that section.
Oh, don't look now. It isn't even 8 o'clock yet.
Jinx.
So,
Good question.
Well, there we go.
Are we gonna do the Neola update? Did he get back with you about a reschedule for the spring, or whatever you call it, the
No.
whichever next version?
Yep.
And The rescinding of the 5,000, the district. Would that one be on the agenda? Is the inter-district,
We
Open enrollment.
yes,
we
I
did the
think
first
it's like-
reading last,
was that?
we did the first reading last month.
No, it should be good. It should be with all the other ones. It should be ready to approve.
Is it not on here?
I didn't see it. And it'd been a rescind and not a. That was it.
We'll get that back on there. Maybe this didn't transfer. Okay. Awesome, awesome.
Alright. Then we go into discussions. Great.
Sorry.
Okay.
I just wondered, is the shooting club still active?
Yes.
They are, and I received a phone call from somebody, and I just thought about that, I gotta call her back. So I have to see where the board approved it as a secondary or, you know. I can't find that, so I've gotta go back and look again, because it was before me.
It would, yeah, it would have been in the fall, September, maybe September, October of the year before you came on.
Okay.
Would that be?
I was
21?
here August of 21, so,
Oh,
so you think it was before that or that year?
August 21.
So maybe it was this spring.
Just, yeah, right before that, then.
Okay.
Yeah. Mhm.
Was it Beth Phillips that dropped it? Because I think.
I can't remember summertime, maybe summertime, fall.
Yeah, I think I found it in the minutes, but if you either search Dustin Gilroy, Gilroy, or Clay Sports.
Yeah,
Something like that. It should come up.
you said,
Beth Phillips was the.
yeah, I can't remember her name, but that doesn't sound familiar.
Okay,
So
so
you said Dustin,
Gilroy, Gilroy. I think he was the one that actually
Okay.
initiated the thing.
yeah, I'll take a look and I will give her a call back, so once, you know, it won't be a Ohio High School Athletic Association because it's not a recognized sport by them, but if the board wants, it could be a excuse me, a student activity club. But full disclosure is once we do that, our insurance is gonna go up, right? Our liability insurance is gonna go up if it's a board recognized club. So I will have to let them know about that and we will see an increase in our liability insurance. I don't know why, that's just.
Because of guns.
But
Yeah,
it is popular and the kids really enjoy it.
yeah, so I do have a phone
Yeah.
call that I need to return and so I will be, yeah. Yeah, so,
And if not her, let me know and I'll reach out to her.
Okay.
Okay. And then, then we'll discuss the facilities committee, the liaison reports. And
I did want to ask Mr. Grossman, would you be, do you think that if we had a half-hour meeting ahead of June's regular session, would you be available for that? It's hard to say at this point to maybe look at kicking off a facilities committee again.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
So that was one of the questions that I had about the minutes from the last time, because it said that we had appointed those folks onto the facilities committee, but I don't think.
But we did, we
No.
did.
We did not,
but they're gonna be invited. to-
but it did say that in the meeting, so
I'll
that
take a
needs
look
to
at
be
it, yeah.
corrected.
Thank you.
And then,
I've only gotten through so much stuff.
I know,
but,
that's good.
That was one thing.
do you have another page?
Oh, that was all, just, thank you.
And then, the strat plan vendor review, are you guys prepared to, say who you want so we can vote on that company next week, or do you wanna, how do you wanna do this? How
I think we need to have a discussion
Yeah,
about
we
it.
didn't talk about it.
right, but do you wanna discuss now so we can go on the minutes or on the agenda for next week to vote?
You guys might be ready to talk about it now. I know I'm not, but that's me.
Well, we need you then too, so.
Well, I have lots of thought.
Mhm.
Yeah, I need to percolate.
So we'll just leave it for discussion.
Another big word.
Yeah.
Another big word.
Every time she emails me, I have to go to the dictionary and look it up.
But I know she's got her thesaurus out today.
Alright, so we'll just plan then for if everybody can get through the videos and the proposals
Did
and
we get it? I haven't dug that far, but did we get numbers from that focus group?
yes, and they're out there as well on your
I just
plan.
haven't got that far,
All the
because they didn't provide that day.
Right. But it's all, the videos are out there, the proposals are out there, any examples anybody sent is out there. And then I think that the Unleashed guy, I think we all received an email from him and I think I forwarded out a different. email. So that was the only thing I put in there. And I think Mr. Crispin posted a screenshot of one of his. So it's, if you go to that planning folder. And then we go into public participation and executive session. And then we adjourn the meeting. So that's next week's agenda. And now we gotta go back to agenda. All right, so that was number 4, review board agenda. And then there's a discussion on here for facilities. At first, I thought that was facilities committee, but I don't think that's right. So what discussion are we gonna have?
Is that be prepared to meet 30 minutes before the June meeting?
Was that it?
That's what I thought that meant.
Okay, so when you say June meeting, you mean the actual board meeting?
The regular session.
Right,
yes.
okay,
Yes. Which would be like at
6:30.
Okay,
Mhm.
so that was a facilities committee for discussion, right?
Right, so then that would be on the 11th, right?
June?
Yeah,
No, well, that's the work session.
oh, that is the work session, so you keep me in line, 18th.
Wait, are you gonna be here?
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry.
That's my line.
So
I didn't ask for that, I mean, I didn't ask for that to go on there, but
yeah, that's why
I think it was just in carryover.
Oh, yeah.
So we don't,
What do you have planned for the first meeting? Will it just be like a meet and greet? Will it be?
I haven't had the bandwidth to get into it yet. I'm just thinking, general agenda to see where we are, who's still involved and maybe, with some of the items and see, we used to carry a fairly common standard agenda from month to month and see, if we want to start with that, just real basic.
I think I may have the template for that, so I'll see if I can send it. You want me to send it to you?
Yes, please.
Okay.
Thank you.
And is there something that maybe we can put on website or
I was
in
gonna say that.
the Facebook page or something, just inviting folks to email the board if they're interested in being a part of that, because I think we need to get that out there and let people know that we want input and.
There used to be an announcement out there for the one gentleman, do you remember that? Cause it might have been before your time, I don't know exactly.
Yeah.
There was a gentleman and his slot became open and they were trying to find somebody to replace him, so it was out on the school site
Yeah, it was 15.
for a little while and it never did get filled, that vacancy, so.
And I emailed you I believe I did, the email contacts for those 2 people.
Yes,
that
I have those.
And then you'll invite those guys too,
And they,
right?
they'll
To
make
attend.
sure that they know that we're gonna be at that
Okay.
time.
Yeah. And then would you envision, so the way I understand it is it's the committee basically will help the board do like a lot of research and stuff and whatnot, so. How did you used to come back and like, would we ask you to go take a look at this? Like I envision one of the taskers being, you guys could maybe look at trailers and stuff like that, and the need for them, where we put them, how much it would cost. Those types of things, and you come back to us.
That was one of the things that that group did early on, many years ago, so, yeah.
But it'd be the same concept, right? Like we would ask you guys, we'd go up to the committee and say, hey, we're looking at this, and this, or whatever, and then you guys
Yeah,
would.
or the committee can generate their.
Okay.
And, yeah, it kind of went both ways,
I think that, I mean, I would like to give, some direction to them, like, here are things that we need to
have.
Oh, yeah,
we need to
yeah.
look long term, we need to look midterm, we need to look short term, and how that all.
Yeah, the facility related. Well, grounds and facilities, when you say facilities, it's all encompassing, right?
Right,
Yeah.
the whole shebang,
Mm-hmm, yeah.
Yeah, it was one.
percolate.
Okay, well, are we good with that one? And then, we have public participations, we do have one, Ms. Donna Hughes. And you were us? She,
Miss Donna?
what?
Which one?
Well, it depends on which name it's on.
Okay.
Because I didn't feel anything.
Yeah, I don't think it is.
I think it's Donahue, I think it's me, yeah, I mean, I will stand up.
But it says from Donna.
We do.
We
Oh,
do
that.
that.
We put my stage name at work was Donahue.
Mm.
That's what they called me at work for 30-some years.
Love it, like,
I heard something, I wasn't paying a lot of attention because I'm not a good student. Were you saying that part of the Parish Point 2.0 will go to Huber and not Bethel?
No.
No. Because I'm all for that. I'm all for that
We have talked about looking at that option.
because I think Huber would not want that.
Of course they wouldn't.
No,
Well,
nobody
then
wants.
we'll bring it up and let them have it. Let them have those.
Well, I think that's what we have to research, but I think both
Right.
districts have to
Have to
agree.
agree.
Right.
And not
So,
only that, but the homes won't sell them. If it goes to the Huber School District,
I know one of the selling points is Bethel, yeah.
Yeah,
right, so.
But all,
I mean, there's a lot of things we're looking at, and
It's just one of the,
it's just one of the things that
we've
that-
discussed.
Right.
So we
All
did some,
discussion.
right,
yeah.
just to even just understand what the process of redistricting means,
Mhm.
because it started with, because somebody had said that, oh no, they won't even allow you to because you didn't check one of the boxes on the application or whatever. And then that prompted the questions like, well, is that true? Is that a rumor? Is that what somebody thinks?
And Mayor
What does it take?
Gore brought that up too.
What does it take?
So
Well,
we're
yeah,
just
that's it.
strictly looking
Which
at
statement?
the process.
About if they kept kids. That phrase was brought up in a council meeting,
And he can say that, but until the state redistricts, it wouldn't mean it's different.
and he's been saying a lot of things, and I need some clarification. Where do I find out, or what bus driver can I contact about how many kids per household is being picked up in that new carriage tail project? Because Mayor Gore said that only 4.4% per house per student is generating population for Bethel School.
Please say that again?
Right, what is
Looks
your?
like I got lost, yeah.
I did too.
It's like for every house that's being built, the 13 original homes.
Yes.
Will generate only 0.4 students. Based on his projection, based on his status that he's had so far. And I'm saying to him, those are family homes, and families were buying family homes.
Well,
It's a
so,
minimum of
so
one,
he's
what do you
saying,
mean? Yeah.
he's saying half of a student per house from.
Per household,
From Carriage Trail Point One, he believes that that's.
all of
what-
that only generated 0.4. And if you took out the senior citizens, it was 0.5. No, 0.5 and then 0.4, you had all the homes. And I'm saying that new original 1300 is family homes with families. And I need to know how many kids are getting picked up in that newer section.
We'll just look at it, I mean, before Carriage, the first people started going in there, our whole district had like 958 kids, K through 12.
Yes.
And now we have another 1,000. And we have 1,300 homes, so,
Proposal.
I mean, and Carriage Trail 1.0, they had how many houses?
Generate 1,000 kids.
And we have 1,000 kids, so that's more than a half a kid a house.
Between Parktown and Carriage Trails 1.0, roughly 75% of those kids make up the 1,977 or whatever the new number was.
So
So they're
that,
looking like close to 1,000,
another, at least another 1,000 kids.
that new section.
Yeah,
before you get
Well,
to,
because-
before you get to 1,300 homes.
because they're projecting also a couple of multi-family
Family.
units, one for, didn't they say 277
Mhm.
apartment units?
That is not in the annexation,
What's in Bethel Township?
but it's not in the annexation I'm talking about. You're right, the southern point of the carriage trail to the county line is approximately going to be 160 units per the 8 acres.
Right,
That's not counting the other 15 on the north side. Proposal of the original proposal of 230, 265 plus 30. So that's gonna be more than 1,300 homes in that new annexation they're talking about.
we're gonna come close to double,
Well, I told him we're gonna have 4,600 kids,
4,000.
2.2 kids per household, because according to what I'm understanding, there's multiple kids in those homes.
They're starting out at $500,000 homes, so they're not small.
So, I mean, yeah, we're looking at another 1,000 students.
Out of 1,300 homes,
Well, I didn't do it by, I looked at all the kids in carriage trails.
Yeah,
And all the kids in the rest of Bethel.
Right.
We had 1,404 that were carriage trail students. And Bethel Township outside of carriage trails was 573, which makes sense to me because most districts are seeing declining enrollment. So if you had 958 for it to fall to 573, that's a little bit of a heavy jump,
Yeah.
that's a drop,
Do you
but
consider
but then we have
Parktown,
Parktown.
you consider Parktown part of Carriage Trails though? Were you counting Parktown as Carriage Trail?
I'll go back and look. Yeah, I don't think so,
Park
because
Town-
what we asked
Park-
was looking at all the ones that are called, what did they have, us P 48, which is carriage trails, which is what the county auditor has.
And we did have open enrollment suites.
Yes, yeah, okay, and
Oh.
now we're looking at maybe a handful of open enrollment that have been grandfathers.
So
Yeah, but
when
we had a pretty good.
My oldest was in kindergarten, I think is when Parktown started, because they had to add. This is gonna sound silly, but they had to add a second morning class.
For kindergarten.
So I moved right from
Yeah, so I mean, I only looked at what was identified as P 48, which would be carriage trails.
and that was
And we
1440.
Yeah, 1404. I don't think it included Parkland, but I'll go back, yeah, cause they have it in different,
Yeah, different.
different batches on how they collected taxes than the tip money,
I mean,
so,
at the bare bottom, it's 1,000 kids.
yes, yes.
I mean, I don't think you're off if you say
If you were
1,000.
granting us the tip, can they ungrant that tip to us?
It's developers.
If the developer. Is one,
Yeah, it's the developer.
it's not Huber, is it?
No, it's wait a minute, I'm sorry, I'm thinking about the homes, I'm not talking about the school. So who pays the tip, and how does you get the tip?
Well, it's a tax incentive financing, and it has to be, it's a deal worked up from the cities, the school district, and the developer. So I'm assuming Mr. Kiefer or the business that developed that area is paying the taxes to Miami County, and Miami County disperses it.
You need to verify, because some of those tips different, some of them are are people owe like the property owners.
Mhm.
Cause I don't know what the difference is between school tip and property tip.
There is no difference, really. I know somebody mentioned to me a non-school tip, that doesn't exist. I mean, I've done all the research, it doesn't exist. I've even looked at asked attorney friends and so, but yeah, I'll look.
Because they are now proposing a tip for this Waverly section of Huber Heights. A 30-year tip program that the residents will pay, not to the developer, they will pay separately for 30 years on their taxes. And that tip will go to Montgomery County will then give it back to Huber Heights, not necessarily to that area that's being built. So they're paying 30 years for something they may not get. So if there's no difference between the school tip and the property tip, can they rescind it and keep it?
I don't know. I really don't. I've never looked at that, so I
Yeah,
can
because
certainly
if
look.
they will say, you take these people and we'll give you the tip, is what I'm hearing them say.
Mhm.
Well, now they get the homes in, they'll take the tip away.
I don't think they have that.
Well, they haven't done that for one, for carriage
I
trail
don't
one.
think they have that.
So,
They
Yeah.
can't do that. I
No.
mean, people won't have, once it's set up, they won't have the capability to rescind our tip,
No. Mhm.
right?
No.
How do you know, I mean, is it written down?
well, yeah, I mean,
Yeah.
it's a.
Yeah, I mean, it has to be a written agreement
Yeah,
and
it's-
contract, so, yeah.
So if they default, don't want to, are we left holding the bag?
But they don't get the money, do they?
If they-
It's not like the TIF money goes to Hubert.
I think it all goes to, yeah,
It'll-
here it goes to Miami County and Miami County disperses it.
Yeah,
So, which, you know, I've been in
So that
Montgomery
tip
County, which
carriage
is a better,
trail-
this is a better deal here in Miami County.
So the
Yeah.
tip in Miami County, that carriage trail goes to Miami County, not Montgomery County.
Correct, it goes to Miami
Therefore-
County, yeah.
And how is that tip generated back to us?
Miami County gives it to us twice a year, just like they do with property taxes. So it's
So
collected.
it's not a structural or infrastructure tip.
Yeah, I'll double check for you, but no.
Yeah,
I mean,
that would be
The
great.
Ohio Revised Code clearly states that if it's gonna be more than 10 years or and or 75%, they must have the school district's agreement. Now, so if the flip side of that would be if, because I, asked, is it a 30-year 100%, which is usually what most developers want, is a 30-year TIF for 100% of the taxes. So they can't do that without the school district's input and an agreed upon, contract.
I have no idea.
Yeah,
I'm
now,
so glad.
I know that there's language in House Bill 33 that may change that, and I'm trying to figure all that out, but it hasn't been passed yet. But if they do a 10-year and 75%, they don't have to have our approval, right? They can do it. So we're just sort of, left holding the bag, so to speak, but hopefully,
So there's no guarantee that we'll get the tip.
right. But if they want more than 75% and more than 10 years, they have to have an agreement in front of the board.
So this tip that they're dangling in front of us is not really.
I don't know, I'd have to look, yeah.
That was another thing on your list.
Okay, I'll look for you,
And
yes.
have your students figured out what $150,000 and all those different levies are? Because you were gonna have someone check that out for me.
Yeah, I will, yeah. I was looking at House Bill 33, which is the new tax laws and stuff that they're doing, and I thought they were gonna pass it and they haven't. So I'm hoping they don't, but,
Is that Ohio House bill?
yeah. Mhm.
Ohio. Okay.
So the legislators are trying to, say that new property doesn't get taxed or improvements to properties shouldn't get taxed, which would cut into our revenues. And so I was reading through all the details of that, but I do have some stuff put together.
Thank you.
Mhm.
And also, this is an ugly thing, but it's very ugly for me. Do you have DEI hires? And do you have a DEI program?
What is the, somebody help?
Diversity,
Equity,
equity, and integrity.
Inclusion, I don't think so, I'll defer to you, so.
Do we answer questions during public participation?
Well, probably not. All the annexation stuff.
So I would need a FOIA,
No, I
You
mean,
just
Well,
pick
we
up
can
the phone,
come back
call
to
me,
you, we
I'll
can
sit
get back
Yeah,
with you on
yeah.
that,
pardon?
we'll get back with you.
Okay,
I don't
and
know.
regarding
I
the
didn't know what it
Chromebooks,
was.
the gentleman said they can take it on to colleges with them.
Mhm.
Every one of my grandkids had to get their own college approved Chromebook. So that Chromebook they had in high school would not be helpful to them for college. And I would agree not to, if the kid wants it, pay the other $100 to take it with him, but don't give it to him free. Cause.
Yep.
Do you know where your school yearbook is?
You know where all of them are. Yeah, I do, yeah.
So I clarified that you had 1404 from P2 of the Cary Trail, and you'll check back later, let us know about whether that was Parkland,
Right,
Parktown. All right,
so
so
I'm checking to see if they can rescind a tip. I mean, I won't remember if I don't write it down.
I have.
That's the biggest lie I tell myself is
I
that I'll
hope you don't
remember.
remember this like I do, so, you know. I
Yeah,
know this
okay.
10 years later. Okay, so you say that we have 573 Bethels.
That's what I think, yes.
I'll just say approximately, when I talked to my friend Mary Moore.
Yeah, 573 is, other than carriage trails, that's all I have on here.
So, did you guys say you have met with, have you met with the Cuba Heights Council?
We'll discuss that next week.
Okay,
Oh, no, not, I'm sorry, not.
so I'm saying is you will give the results next week at the meeting?
Of we discussed with the developer, so.
Yeah, the development. So you'll give that meeting to the developer. Okay. Come next week. Let's see. What is the difference between executive secretary and the secretary assistant?
Do you want this read that?
Yeah, I'll write it down.
I think she means assistant treasurer.
No, not, I heard the word executive secretary. And I heard assistant. So I don't know if I was not paying attention good or very well.
I don't know that you're paying attention.
Probably not. I get easily bored, so that's why I always had to sit in front in high school, in school, because I got in trouble in back. My parents did not like that.
Yeah, I'll take a look.
Well, yeah, little girl, I'm giving you all kind of.
You
messy-
are.
I should say-
Thank you for calling me little girl. I ain't been called that in years.
Do you have anyone? Is that it?
I was because I jumbled around a lot. And new teacher supply and supplies, I wasn't sure what that meant. Here again, I was drifting in and out, I'm sorry.
Oh.
Your proposal for costs and stuff, maybe that's what it
Well,
was?
we talked about class fees.
Yeah, that'll be on next week's
Yeah.
meeting.
Okay,
Stay tuned.
We hope, yeah.
I hope I keep my paperwork so I can get the answers written down,
Yeah.
you've given me. Well, thank you very much for taking, letting me have the time.
Absolutely.
And, so, okay, you understand I drift in and out quite often, so keep me straight.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
And then that was it for public participation. And now could I have a motion to go into an executive session for employment, right? For number one, to consider employment?
Yes.
I'll second. And no discussion? Will you take roll, please?
Mrs. Leskowitz?
Yes.
Mrs. Butler?
Yeah.
Mrs. Donahue?
Yes.
Mr. B?
Yes.
Mrs. Kiplinger?
Yes.
And we are going at 8:06.
Pretty good, I'd say.
Oh, let's have a round of applause.
Yes. Pound the bag. Before 10.